on this episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Matt and Nick may be joined by a special guest, but if that falls through, they've got a few topics to keep you up to date on all things you need to know Star Wars. They'll update you on a Lucasfilm exclusive that they're glad didn't pan out. They'll talk about the newly titled Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett special. Matt will fill you in on how the War of the Bounty Hunters miniseries concluded and what's in store for Crimson Dawn moving forward. Of course, the episode will end with this week's version of the fan segment, complete with responses to our week question of the week and the honoring of the latest top 5 Star Wars featured artists. Punch it, Chewie! Hey now, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show. And boy, oh boy, should you be excited, because it is a special guest type of Star Wars Time Show. If you're on the live stream today, you're looking at our beautiful faces, you will notice we are joined by another beautiful face in Neil Ellis, who is a prop, model, and costume FX maker that has worked extensively in pop culture science fiction films. And of course, if he's on this little show, he has also spent some time working in Star Wars. So Neil, welcome to the show. Thanks for agreeing to come on and talk to us two nudniks. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so like I said, we kind of like to profile out our guests for our audience members that might not be familiar with some of their work. So, like I said, Neil has been working in the concept model, prop, and costume FX game for a bit now, and he has worked in some mega franchises, at least for people like us that like the Star Wars. Captain America might be familiar to some of you that listen to the show. Upcoming ones, and too bad it's not called the Batman or the Matrix Resurrections Time Show, because Neil has done work for both of those Matrix soon to be released, Batman, I believe.
Look at that. There it is.
He's even got the gear. He's got the cast and crew gear. If you're on the stream, you can see Neil is wearing the Batman crew shirt, and he just held up the Resurrections. He's worked Men in Black, Edge of Tomorrow, Gravity, the Harry Potter franchise, the Beast franchise, kind of the prequel to Harry, and of course, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you have dabbled in all of the Disney Star Wars movies at this point in time, correct?
Yes, but no TV, unfortunately.
Well, maybe we'll have to come back to that. Unfortunately,
I was going to say, unfortunately, that's a good little.
Maybe next year, we'll see.
Gotcha. Oh, you can't tell us anything, because I know for those that listen to the show, over the summer we had Vincent Jenkins on, who also worked on some Disney Star Wars projects, and I'm assuming that's where him and Neil met.
Oh no, I've known him since
forever.
Casino Royale.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
A long time ago. My first movie was like Vinny's third movie. We've known each other a long time.
Got it.
Awesome.
Well, we'll have to get into your story and how you got there, because I mean, to me, a lot of times it's as a Star Wars podcast, it's awesome that you've worked in the franchise, of course, but we here as humans, we sometimes just like to hear the story of how young Neil ended up working on some of these just amazing sci-fi franchises and whatnot. But before we get there, our icebreaker, something we always start with, is your Star Wars fandom. And when did it begin? Do you even have Star Wars fandom? And did it ultimately lead into what you like to do in your professional life?
I mean, ultimately, it did. I don't think my story is any more special than any other boy. I was too young to watch Star Wars in the cinema, but my dad owned a JVC / Ferguson Video Star, and he loved piracy. So by the time Empire came out and I was ready to go to the cinema, aged maybe 7, I'd seen Star Wars every weekend leading up to that, So Empire was my entry. Star Wars was wasn't my cinematic entry, but I did watch it as it was almost like my prequel to Empire. Do you know what I mean? It was that sort of thing. And then, every single bit of pocket money I got was spent in JJ Toys in Edgware High Street. Foolishly, not on a Man-O-Man and not on Yak Face, but on Luke Besbin. And I used to, chop his hand off and blah, blah, blah. And I missed out on all the big figures because they were the ones that were left in the shops because no one cared back then.
The peg warmers, as we call them these days.
Yeah, yeah. In the back garden in my cat's dirt tray, pretending it was Tatooine with my brother. Nothing particularly spectacular, but I mean that's all it needs really to sort of feed your imagination, right?
Yeah, I mean we've talked to a few other guests from that era. I'm from that era too, born in '80, so I'm original trilogy. Father got me into it, so a similar story to yourself, watching it over on those pirated VHS tapes that a lot of us who are now in our 40s remember so fondly back when we were kids, and it was kind of our babysitter, right? Like here's Star Wars, jam it into the TV, hit the rewind button when it's over, and rinse and repeat. So Neil, did you find that your passion for collecting the toys and like you said, playing in the litter box and recreating scenes is that something that you can maybe tie into what led into you being fascinated with models in general, and then ultimately props, and then the costume effects?
It was always in the back of my mind as a dream. Blade Runner in particular, Battlestar Galactica, anything to do with Terminator. I'm that generation, but I never thought. I didn't realise you could just go and do a degree, and then create a half decent portfolio, and then walk into an industry as a junior and work your way up. That wasn't even a concept for me. So I went into graphics. Because it was an easy thing to get into, an easy thing to learn at home on your Mac.
So when you say graphics, are you talking like
graphic design? No, graphic design, page layout. Yeah. That sort of stuff.
All right, so
nothing.
Do you have a traditional artist background then, or was it just kind of?
I studied 3D design. I studied design and communication. I wanted to be an architect, but my maths back then, you needed maths, double maths and physics, and I wasn't strong enough in those things. You can't just have a bit of software. Back then it was you needed to contribute like a brain as fuck. So I shelved it basically and became a fitness instructor because I liked the gym, and that was a disaster. So I went to work in a warehouse, and that was a disaster. So then I taught myself graphics like Quark Express and Illustrator and freehand, and then I had a 10-year career in that. And then I got caught up in the tsunami in Thailand and was so close to dying. By the time I came home, I quit my job and went back to university to study model making.
Oh, let's rewind. So were you living in Thailand during the tsunami?
No, I'd been in my graphics job for 10 years, and they gave me a loyalty reward of a round the world trip. And 2 days into my round the world trip, I was in PP Island when the tsunami hit. And I was, so
talk about bad luck. Holy hell. How was that?
Yeah.
What was that?
It was a mess. Yeah, it was a mess, but it changed my life, and it made me think, do you know what? I don't want to sit at a desk anymore. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to work in the film industry. I want to make the things that I ogle at. I want to make the things that that blow my mind.
Right.
So I quit my job and went back to university and did a model making and special effects degree at Hertfordshire.
I mean, talk about, I know, a lot of people that do well in life that, they'll talk about a defining moment or a moment where, you kind of do a 180 in life and completely change. That's amazing.
Oh, that was absolutely.
That's amazing that the Thailand tsunami was your kind of pivot
I'd
point.
still be doing corporate identity, and I'd still be doing magazine covers for Mac User and Adobe adverts. That's what I'd be doing now for half the money. And 10 times less the fun.
It's just because right now I don't even know the name of the movie. I just know Ewan McGregor is in it, and the trailer they show the wave coming in over the resort in Thailand.
Oh, the Impossible.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm just thinking like, so you were there on the ground for that and lived through it.
It's a different part of Thailand, but it's exactly that. Yeah, me and my wife watched that and we cried our eyes out.
Holy shit!
So it's so bang on, so absolutely bang on. Horrific.
Wow. Well, hell.
Anyway,
so all
not
right.
very.
Well, that is that is definitely one way to pivot your life. So
Well, it just goes to show and you can get to this point working on Star Wars through any route, even if it's got massive, negative repercussions or memories. It all ends up in the same place, right?
Yeah, because so far you're fairly unique in terms of who we've talked to, because they've all kind of got into the movie industry early, got on big projects, met the right people, networked the right way, and then made it to, the promised land, Star Wars, ILM, whatever, Lucasfilm.
Yeah, well, I think the lucky thing about that was I was at the right age where I was in my 30s. I'd already had a hard work ethic. So for me to go back to university, all that meant was I wasn't going to spend my time partying. I wasn't going to spend my time in the bar. I spent my time 12 hours a day smashing out the best work I could. And then I ended up with a portfolio that got me instantly into work. And, I kind of jumped the queue a little bit by turning up to the party late, if you know what I mean.
So was the Potter movies, was that your first foray? Was that your first gig in the movie business?
It was my first full time. I did Gulliver's Travels as like a little bit above, intern. That was awful. I left that, and just prior to that, I did a couple of weeks on Casino Royale, which is where I met Vinny. But yeah, Harry Potter 7 and 7.5 was my first gig, and I stayed with that crew. I mean, I'm still going to go back to them, but I stayed with that crew throughout my career.
And that's kind of how it happens, right? You kind of meet a team with people, you all end up liking each other, hopefully, and then for the most part, you'll kind of pull each other through into other projects. Yeah,
well, the Harry Potter props crew, which was Pierre Bahana and Toby Hawkes, they were the costume effects guys on all 5 Star Wars films. Because that's just where they ended up. And, traditionally, they're very much Warner, but...
Yeah, that's unique. I mean, because they typically...
He's done all the DC stuff. Yeah, this stuff's crazy. So you just have to... And he did Men in Black as well. It's the same guys.
Yeah, I guess that was at a transitional time for Star Wars, too, because you had Harry Potter, and then you had... the other projects that those teams worked on, and that was like a fallow period for Star Wars pre-Disney acquisition. And then I'm sure when Disney bought it, they were like, well, we want the best prop team that we can get to relaunch the whole franchise.
Well, I've got a good story, actually. While I was on Edge of Tomorrow, I was working in props, and I was building a 32-inch Millennium Falcon, just as a nerd, under my bench. At lunchtime, I'd bring it out. But incidentally, the supervising art director on that was Neil Lamont, who was ultimately the production designer on Solo and co-production designer on Rogue One, and also supervising art director on The Force Awakens. And the prop guy on that was Pierre Bohanna, who ended up being the costume effects supervisor. And I was making this thing, people were like ripping me, oh, you nerd, blah. I'm like, oh, whatever. And it turns out Neil Lamont came up and saw me working on it, and then 3 or 4 years later, remembered it was under my bench, asked if he could rent it off me. And I, God's honest truth, said, why don't you just hire me?
Yeah, there you go. Sell yourself.
It's the concept model maker on Star Wars.
That is amazing.
That's amazing.
It's bonkers, yeah. It was like 5 different things, all gelling in at one instant. It was bonkers. And they're all years, they're like 4 or 5 years apart. There's literally no rhyme, so there's no reason to why that would happen. It just is. It's really good.
It never ceases to amaze me, and I'm sure Nick would share that sentiment with how people like you kind of end up getting to Star Wars. Star Wars is kind of our thing, but hey, working in the industry you're in, working on some of the films you have worked on, I mean, that's just as amazing. And it really is, you all share similar stories in that right place, right time, right people, and then obviously having the right skill set. And it's just amazing that on your downtime, you're building a prop that led to you down the road working on 5 Star Wars movies. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of right people to be around in the UK. There are a ton of them. There are a ton of people out there with every skill you need. That's not the difficult bit. I think it's just that jamminess, that fluke. That's
Right.
what did it. Because it could have been anyone. You know, there are. I could go and work for 20 people now, and they're all amazing bosses. But they could hire 300 different people who are all amazing model makers. But that little moment was just the thing for me that
awesome.
really changed.
So how do you justify building a Falcon prop on Edge of Tomorrow? Like, did they let you use material there, or I mean, how does that?
No, it wasn't the first one I did. I did one at uni for my graduation show. Because I sold it, I missed it, so I just thought, oh, do you know what? I'm on this for a year. I could probably do another one under my bench. I normally get in early.
Got a little downtime during the day.
Yeah, I not anymore so much, but I always had a homer. Always had a home projects on the go.
Okay.
You know, now I tend generally make costume things for friends if I'm, bored at lunch. But
I got to ask someone that is a professional model maker, prop maker. What do you think about 3D printing these days and consumer 3D printing? Do you feel it's just the evolution of the art form, or is it a bit of cheating compared to what you used to do?
Even when I graduated, that was the future.
Okay.
That was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just whether you decided. I come from a computer background, from Illustrator and Photoshop, blah, blah, blah. But 3D is a little, I've not invested my time in it, but I've got the mind to pick it up. It's not rocket science.
Right.
But animation's a different thing. I mean, just modeling in itself. If it has to be proper engineering, then that's a different issue altogether. But I think as far as a concept and model making thing, it's a useful tool. I just don't use it because I don't want to sit in front of a computer all day.
Right.
Doing the work I could be doing by hand just so I can press print and go to bed and wake up and have it done for me. That's not the fun side of it. But I totally understand. And I use it where it's necessary. Absolutely. We used it on Batman. Most of the Batman build was scratch built, but we used 3D prints on things that were just for time reasons, really.
Yeah, I was gonna. Well, thank you, because I was gonna ask: Do they on big productions now bust out some 3D printers, or is it still mostly handcrafted, props and models?
It's 50-50. I mean, it depends. I'm on Band of Brothers at the minute, and it's almost all scratch built because it's a period drama set in the 40s. 3D printing. Not so much. We get some engineering, CNC'd and things like that, but little bits and bobs of 3D printing just to save us time. I'm sure that art departments, depending on the art director and the production designer, they're not so interested in the conceptual side of model making because they want to see it as artwork, which is easier to adapt. If you finish a 3D model, a concept model, and it's taken you a week, and they want half of it changed, there's a good few days' work there.
Right.
But if you've done it as a photo, as a SketchUp model, you could probably do it in half an hour. So it depends on the value they put upon you actually physically having something in your hand. I think that's the be all and end all of it. If someone loves to pick up a model and look at it and actually photograph it from different angles, or they're willing to just watch a SketchUp model on a turntable, then I think that's all it's down to, really.
So when you built that, going back to the Falcon, how do you craft something like that? I mean, are you molding the individual pieces? Are you cutting them off of other things?
No, I sourced the original kits that they used in the 70s.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
ILM had a rack, an enormous rack of 70s Tamiya 135th, 148, 172, 1700 battleships, and those patterns haven't changed since then. Tamiya are still using the same tooling for the kits you buy now. So if you buy a £25 gun, Canadian gun from 1999, it's still exactly the same kit that they used on the Falcon in the 70s. And, people over the years have managed to make this enormous spreadsheet of 120 different kits that were on the Falcon. it's probably about £1,500, $2,000 worth of kits. But then you can specifically pinpoint every single thing on the Falcon and literally generate a 95% accurate piece of work.
Right.
Wow.
It's down to fandom, completely down to fandom. And this was all before. This is when AOL was the only internet.
Right.
Going on
the good old days. I kind of wish it was back to that sometimes.
It's not even a new thing. It's been going on for years, and there are dedicated fans who just done an amazing job of just researching this stuff. Who I actually owe a lot to because they know more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we do a podcast about Star Wars, so we're definitely fanboys. But I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of like how hardcore they will get on details and locations, placements, paintings, and it's got to be this way, it's got to be turned that way. When you are kind of digging up a prop or like costume effects, do you like creating it all from scratch, or do you like repurposing older items like you said, World War II? I know World War II guns were used in Star Wars and so on and so forth.
Only the details, only the tiniest little wiggets. That's all. Everything else is sculpt. I sculpt or would carve a buck from hand, vac form it, make a shell, and then it's only the tiniest things that I used.
Do you remember the first model or prop that you made, or what you used to maybe?
Ever or it's on Star Wars?
What's that?
Ever or on Star Wars?
Ever, like when you're like, this is the first time you created something, and you're like, check this out. Do you remember what that was?
I do. I wasn't that old. I wasn't that young or old, actually. It was back in the early days of the RPF. You know the RPF? You must know the RPF. Replica Prop Forum.
Sure. We do now.
Yeah. Anyway, it was when everyone had an obsession with lightsabers, and everyone knew about the Graflex.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But no one knew about the MPP, which was Vader's. Because it was a British camera flash.
Oh, for his hilt. Okay.
For his hilt. Only one had ever been found. And then I found the second one.
Oh.
And I finished it. And I posted it. And it was that was probably the thing that made me go, fucking hell, this is bonkers.
Awesome.
That was it, yeah. Must mention him, Laszlo Beckett, first one to ever finish a Vader lightsaber, but I found the second one in a vintage camera shop in South London.
Do you still have that piece?
No, I mean that's just 25 years ago. But he wouldn't sell me both. Because I mentioned it was a lightsaber.
There you go. I was going to say, did this person know what they had then? Did you give it away?
Yeah, I sold it for everyone. I mentioned it like an idiot, and he couldn't sell me one.
Oh, I love it. All right.
Now you could make a whole living just off of making lightsabers. There's so many different replica lightsaber websites, screen accurate reproduction sites and stuff like that, and all of them. They sell like hotcakes. They sell crazy prices too. I mean, some of them will sell upwards of $1,000.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Neil,
it's a big market out there. But I'm not a machinist particularly. I mean, all I did was get the camera flash, take the bulb, and throw it away, and put a few more bits on. It's easy. It's not the same as that. Nowadays it's crazy.
Yeah.
But everyone gets stuff, machined in China. They've got these contacts all around the world, and it's different. It's a different world now.
Yeah.
So do your friends ever hit you up for some cosplay items? They're going to a Halloween party or a Star Wars celebration. Do you ever get hit up to kind of pimp out their costumes with some props? Or
I am doing a crazy sort of Sakura cherry blossom assassin for a friend of mine.
Oh.
Like a sexy two-sworded kimono-wearing female assassin.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no. Just little things like that. That's the fun in it. I'm doing a Boba Fett helmet for someone, but...
okay. I saw that on your Instagram page. I was like, what's Neil hitting at here? Did he have his hand in the book of Boba Fett, or is this a personal project?
No, it's nothing to do with that. It's an ancient mold. It's an ancient mold.
Gotcha.
I wish. I'm really looking forward to that. That little snippet, that trailer, just that was like, oh my god.
Yeah, let's kind of let's get into that. You know, we've been talking about kind of Neil's background and getting into the business, but let's circle back to the Star Wars fandom. It sounds like you're really digging the Star Wars TV that has come out over the past 2 years. Is that a fair statement? Like the Mandalorian and
I had issues with some of the narrative of the Mandalorian, but when it finished, I was like, okay, I actually want another season. But I needed to get to the end before I appreciated it. There were just some issues, but you know, I'm not a story writer. I'm just a critic who can never be pleased. Right?
Are you like my co-host Nick and Grogu was getting on your nerves after a while? Was it a Grogu issue or?
I just don't know why the Mandalorian would save that little critter but kill 20 Jawas who were the same size, and he couldn't. So he was 7 years old, but he shot him in the face.
Oh, I love it.
There was just some crazy things. There was just
that's a good point. That's a good point. Nobody's brought that up.
And they're up to his knees, and they killed him for free.
Love it.
They messed with his ship, though.
Yeah, they stripped the Razor Crest.
Yeah, but how many times did that little shit put him in jeopardy?
Very true.
Eggy confined.
That's very true.
I love it.
I get it. It's a kid's show. I get it. You shouldn't analyse it too much.
So
but I love. I did like it. It got better. It got better and better and better.
Being
and the Dow Heist one with Bill Burr, that was just like boom.
Oh yeah, that one was great.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I mean, I've when I first found out Bill was in Star Wars, I was like, well, that's kind of odd because he has bits on Star Wars fans and how we're all goofy and he doesn't get it, but he really has kind of become one of the best new characters, and I think that
I didn't even know he was in it until I watched it, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then he was with like the hottest Twi'lek ever.
Yes.
I had to pause it for like 10 minutes and come back. No, I like that. No, it's good. I just hope the rest of it, I'm sure the Boba Fett thing's going to be great.
So being a child of the original trilogy, how did you appreciate the return of Luke Skywalker at the end of The Mandalorian? Did it hit you like some of us other fans, or did you feel like they were that was cheating by bringing back Luke?
No, it was going to happen.
No one. I don't think anyone did.
No, I don't. I was surprised, and I thought I still can't work out how that. I'm still looking forward to how they work that timeline out, but as to what happened to that little shit.
Right, yeah, he just exits stage left. We don't know. I mean, is he gone for good? Are we going to check in on Luke and Grogu again? I guess we don't know.
Well, they've got 30 years to work out what happened between that and The Force Awakens, right? So that's interesting.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Maybe some more movies will be coming your way. We got some timelines to fill now.
Yeah, I know.
I definitely prefer to Leia in Rogue One.
Oh yes, yeah, he looked a lot better than Leia in Rogue One. Leia in Rogue One even looked worse than Tarkin in Rogue One, and Tarkin was fully CGI.
Tarkin in reflected in the window.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and that's all they should have kept it
just
to.
Stay there.
Yeah. Just got. Why has he suddenly got 20 liver spots? Why are his pores 2 mil deep? Just relax on the flipping texture. But yeah, no, it was still. I still enjoyed it though. I like Rogue One. In fact, I think it's my favourite out of the 5.
Yeah.
I think
that's a consensus that we've
heard. Changes different reasons for that answer, but as an overall thing, I think it's my favorite.
Do you have one of the 5 that not necessarily is a favorite of yours to watch, but was probably your favorite to work on?
Solo was my favorite to work on.
Oh, okay. Was there anything in particular on that made it the best? Okay. You were in it. Who were you playing?
Oh, this is a good story. All right, so I was in the art department for, I don't know, maybe a year, and then I left to go and do L3. And as soon as I left, Vinny and Alex Hutchins and these other guys, they were invited to be mud troopers.
Okay.
And I missed out. And I was,
Oh.
I'm not sure, I don't remember if I knew about it. But anyway, Vinny says, no, come along, we're going to be mud troopers. So I went along to the costume fitting, and I think because I looked too old for a mud trooper, they made me an Imperial officer.
Oh, so you got FaceTime then.
And I got a line.
Holy shit. I'm going to have to go
I'm
back
in
and
the
rewatch
scene
this
where
tonight.
Han Solo gets arrested and gets
You know, as soon as you said, I was like,
to meet Chewbacca.
yeah.
And I'm this sort of kind of small henchman in the background, hanging behind. Oh, I can't remember his name. He was brilliant. He's the only Imperial officer with a beard. He's the one who's confronting Han Solo right in front of Woody Harrelson
Yes.
before he gets taken off. Anyway, and I had to shout to the Southern Marshlands, "Move out!"
Okay.
Like a day and a half in smoke. It was horrific. And I get proper stage fright. It was horrific. And then I go to the cinema, I spot myself, and they've dubbed me.
Oh, no.
With an American.
Oh, no.
Oh,
That's the
no.
worst.
It's like there are no American Imperial officers,
No.
Oh.
like ever. Oh, that's
Yeah.
because I've got a squeaky voice. I've got a squeaky voice.
We don't speak proper English, so how
Well,
dare
that's
they?
It's not the point. You're not supposed to be the villains in Star Wars, right? It's the it's the British Empire.
The British Empire. Yeah.
It's bonkers. Makes no sense. So I'm literally the first American Imperial officer.
That's
who was
British.
born in London.
Yeah.
That is British. Yeah, that is British.
Oh, that is.
So yeah, watch it. It's you've got 2 seconds. If you blink, you'll miss it. My son spotted it in the cinema. He went bonkers. But you just trust me.
I know. I definitely know the part you're talking about now that you've described it. Yeah.
Check my Instagram. I've got at least 20 photos of me, even with in smoke, an arrow going. Look, that's me.
So in the end, once you saw yourself on the big screen and you made your debut, was it worth the shoot and all the pain and misery?
Oh yeah, it was. But as with a line, I should have got a credit.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
that's what I was
'cause,
gonna
you
say.
should be getting
on
residual
your
checks.
IMDb.
In fact, I had a pay cut. I had to take a pay cut from model maker to extra and no
Wow.
credit. What the hell is that about?
I know. I would get in touch with somebody.
Yeah,
That's rude.
yeah.
Yeah.
You need to
But I
get
got
that guy
2
a name.
credits on the Force Awakens, and I think it pissed people off because you're not supposed to get 2 credits.
Oh, okay. So,
I don't think you are. At least that's what I heard.
oh, yes, costume prop maker and concept model maker for Force Awakens. So usually they only give you one. Is that
I slipped
okay?
through the net. I slipped through the net on that one.
Payback and Solo. They dubbed
Yeah,
your
yeah,
voice
they're
and
like,
only
"Nah."
1 credit and less pay.
At
Yeah,
least
I
on
would
IMDb, you
rather
got
have
2 for.
I'd had the actor credit. I'd have been in the book with a name. They would have had to make up some shit.
That's what I mean. Yeah, at this point, you could be going to Star Wars celebrations and signing autographs into your 80s if you had
Yeah.
like a named character. The way the fandom is.
What, 10 a show, maybe 12. If I'm
Hey,
lucky.
I guarantee you, people would pay it. I mean,
People will show up. You have that big picture behind you. They see you, they remember you from the screen.
Yeah.
They will be in line.
Oh, I did do the London Film and Comic Con.
Oh, that had to be awesome.
signings, or were you on like a panel or something?
Yeah, signing. No, I was signing.
How'd
And
that
I
go?
was next to Greedo. No, I was next to bloody Paul Blake. I was next to Greedo, and he had a queue like 4 days long.
Yeah.
And I just had friends coming up to me going, "Ah, you wanker."
Like, look at Neil.
yeah,
There's no
that's
one here.
okay.
Oh man, they
Yeah,
jobbed you
that was-
there, setting you up next to Greedo. That's not fair. So on Rogue One, did you? When we were talking to you, call him Vinny. I wish he let us call him Vinny. But when on Rogue One, Vinny he told us that the whole art department snuck down and got to watch the Vader hallway scene. Were you
Yes.
mixed up in that
Yes.
too?
That was awesome. That was awesome. And do you know what?
What's that?
That helmet was my own personal helmet that I sold costume.
Really?
Wow.
Yep. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You should have.
All right. We
You
won't
should have let
press.
them borrow it and then get it back, and then you
No,
could have
no,
sold
that
it
was
for
never
way
gonna
more.
So is that like another deal where they're like, "Hey, we'll buy it, or you can have a job," type of thing, like you had with
I
the?
offered it. No, I was I was so into Star Wars. I just gave everything I had. basically.
I mean, that is an amazing.
Don't worry, I'll source that for you. Boom, there you go. Let's just get a new dome on it because the original one was a bit ropey. Let's make it nice.
Awesome. Yeah. And that was that just another passion project piece that you had worked on in the past and had around? I can't even tell you too much. Quasimodo. Okay. There you go. That's what you need to know. Look it up.
We'll get our researchers on that.
If researchers add to your collection something that's lineage and epic. Look that up. Okay. All right. We'll do that. We'll get somebody on it.
So when you watch a scene like that being filmed, did you realize it was going to kind of have the impact and the visuals that it did in, after post-production and in the movie itself?
Yeah, you walk away with goosebumps for sure. Absolutely. You were like, oh my God, what did I just witness? Yeah. And we were actually on Solo by that point.
Okay.
Because, this was during the reshoots.
The very, very, very beginning of Solo, sitting in offices above the stage that was doing the last dregs of Rogue One. So we were never expecting to see that. And already, 8 had already come and gone. It was just bonkers. Hold on, is that right?
Yeah, no, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, because it was the backlash to The Last Jedi that kind of messed with Solo's theater opening and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I only saw I was in there for maybe 20 minutes. But it was it was good. When you saw his lightsaber come on in the smoke, you were like, oh my God, what's happening? Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I can only, or I think collectively Star Wars fans can only hope for more of that in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series coming out. Now, Vincent, he revealed that he was actually working on Kenobi when it was still a movie. Is that something you also were kind of dabbling in, or you'd moved on by then?
No, I was waiting unofficially to get involved, but it just went away.
Yeah.
Now it's back, and I'm sure they probably brought in new teams and whatnot since it moved over to the TV side versus the film side.
Yeah, well, I'm always still up for that kind of thing, but I just depends where it's being shot. A lot of this stuff gets shot in industrial estates out in the countryside, and it's just there's no vibe there. I love being in the studios. It's all about studios for me.
So are you a fan of the new volume tech then, since that's technically a digital studio, or you prefer the practical sets and like production, tangible production design? I'm into all of it, but I mean, as far as a working location, I want to be either Shepperton, Pinewood, Elstree, or Leavesden. That's it. Everything else is technically a glorified industrial estate.
Okay.
With no soul, except for the soul that the crew brings to it.
Okay.
When you're at Pinewood, you've got six or seven, maybe 4 or 5 gigs going on, and you've got all your friends that you've known for the last 15 years, and you're all on different projects, and that's what a film studio is to me. The project is important, but I'd rather do something less prestigious in a prestigious location.
I got you.
You know what I mean? It's just day to day. It just feels like a better use of your time.
So do you feel like then Andor, the series they're making, the prequel for Rogue One, which was all shot in the UK using a lot of location shoots, and I'm assuming that the studios over there, do you feel like because of that, it's going to have that much more?
Location's fine. I love going on location, but as long as your base is one of the big studios, that's what, that's what gets my gravy flowing. Just being in those places that have got 100 years of history. That's what I love about the film industry. I don't really want to be shooting something spectacular that's in a industrial estate in High Wycombe.
I got you. Yeah, I was just watching. I don't know if you've watched the movies that made us, those documentaries on Netflix.
Yeah, I've just watched the Forrest Gump one.
Yeah, they just did a new season like right after that, and Aliens is on it. And I was dabbling in it last night, and that was all Pinewood, so that's why I'm bringing it up, because they talk about how James. I mean, honestly, I didn't know this, but James Cameron was essentially you He was a prop and model maker on some goofy, cheap sci-fi movie, and Gale Ann Hurd, a famous producer.
Yeah, he'd only done Terminator. He'd only done Terminator up to that point, right?
Yeah, but even before that, like he was able to do Terminator because of his work in model and prop making, but also because of the passion he showed to this producer at the time who was visiting a set trying to push it along. I recommend checking it out if you.
Paxton was art department. Did you know that?
Yeah, no, they talk about that exactly, how Paxton had been working with Cameron on this low budget, it's like a Robert Cowan movie. I guess he was a famous producer for making cheap B movies and launching careers. Anyways, I think you would really appreciate that episode because it goes...
I missed it. Is it a new one? Is it a brand new one?
Yeah, the new season, I believe, came out last week. It's got a lot of the horror movies, but then it's got Aliens, RoboCop, I think one other like badass 80s type of stuff we're into. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, no, that's not, yeah, totally. I need to watch that for sure.
So most fun was on Solo. Do you have I guess just a personal kind of favorite prop model costume effects that you've designed for Star Wars? Like one like you're so proud of, you'd put it on your fridge.
I think as far as vehicles, I think it's got to be Krennic's shuttle.
Yes. Okay.
I think because I worked with Neil and Doug on that and also the concept guys, but literally from maquettes, comparing it to the Tidarium and to Kylo Ren's and just doing these tiny little maquettes landed and flying and just working it out from that level right up to super detailing the final model, right up to then producing them for ILM's display cabinet. So, I mean, that's probably the one that because it looks so clean. It was so, that was probably super fresh. I think Solo Speeder also, because I had to do 4 or 5 or maybe 6 models via multiple different designers and across the Atlantic back and forth. That was another good one. I'm not sure what was on screen was my favorite out of the 5 or 6, but it seems to be quite popular. And it became Hasbro and Lego toy, so you can't really complain.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, is that kind of a badge of honor for model makers to have their model ultimately become a collectible?
It's nice to see it in Lego, although it doesn't really translate perfectly. The good thing about the Solo, the Hasbro one, was they released their toy when it was not signed off. So their one is as per my exact prototype, but not what you see on screen, which is quite nice.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So if you want a 136 scale replica of my concept model, buy the Hasbro toy because it's got nothing to do with what you see on screen. They were given access. Because they were push, these guys are pushy. They want their stuff before the film's out.
Yeah.
So they got given their stuff, and then it changed for the film. So what you buy as Hasbro is actually my concept model or our concept model, and not what you see on screen.
And I'm sure they give you royalties for all these, right?
I didn't even get one with a scruffy box with a price sticker.
Yeah, you don't even get a version of the toy.
You don't get a free
To be fair, I haven't gone to buy one either. I'm waiting until it's in 99p bin in about 10 years' time.
Oh, that's great.
As far as the droids, I think all of them. The thing about working on droids is you get to stand by with the performers, and Stephanie Silver, Natalie Kuzner, Nathan Plant, details. It's just such a pleasure to hang around with these guys for like hours and hours on end in complete silence, being shushed by the third ADs because you're having a laugh. While they're being pinched and they're sweaty and they're uncomfortable and you have to feed them. It makes costume really good hanging around on set with these guys because they have to put up with the most horrific costumes that look good but are just. It's like a Lady Gaga meat dress. You wouldn't want to wear it.
Right, yeah. It looks
Very
cool,
true.
but not very functionable.
No, we try our best, but, you can't sit down without taking your legs off. It's just nonsense, really.
So I have the L3 picture from your Instagram up on the stream right now. What did you design that whole thing, build that whole thing, or just parts of it?
Yeah, L3 was completely designed and wearable and shot on by the time I got involved. All I did was the guts.
Got you.
So the bits that were designed to hide Phoebe's green leotard.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I joined it super late. I had a few weeks with Glyn, Dylan, and Sam Williams to try and come up with, a found part skeletal structure that would work, that ILM could scan and then animate. And that's literally my role in it. I mean, it's a great thing to do because I had total freedom. And I just went through a bucket of bits from props and just found bits that, that looked like a sternum, that looked like collarbones, that looked like a spine, and just cobbled it together, and it got signed off.
Yeah, it is. It is a very one of my favorite, I'd say, bot designs in Star Wars. She was also quite unique in terms of her personality. Would Phoebe get in this thing, or is this just purely for reference, this model we're looking at on your page here?
Oh, no, she couldn't get in that, but she got in all of the white bits.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, she could completely fit in that costume, except for all the technical pistons and the spine and all that stuff. That was just for CGI. No, that was actually a screen new suit that I used. She'd actually ran around on set in that, and it was given to me. I built an armature for it to stand on, and then deconstructed and reverse engineered her guts.
I sit here as a collector, and I'm like, I wonder how much this thing would cost to have in my house right now. This L3. I mean, it looks like the damn droid. I mean, it's the robot. Yeah. It really is. I mean, it's amazing looking.
Well, I mean, there probably was a dozen people working on that for months. Plus, you got to count Glyn Dillon's fee. So good luck with that. I reckon I don't know if you can. Have you got £250,000 to?
Yeah, just to toss around. I'd probably.
That sounds about right. I'll work on it.
Together.
I don't even know where it is. It's probably in Lucasfilm somewhere.
It's probably in some sort of warehouse, just sequestered away. Crushed. Nobody will see it again.
Yeah.
It looks like you got some props there right now. Is that Leia's medal from Episode 9?
Oh, I wanted to show you this. Now, this is a gift from. So it is. Oh.
Okay,
check that out. There it is. The Yavin Celebration Medal.
Costume FX. There you go.
So we got this if you've worked on all 5 Star Wars films in costume.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so that's super limited then. Like that is a collector's item.
It's a replica of the medal, but
yeah,
it's like a and I've also got given this from Glyn.
Oh, your little cat, your officer's badge.
Yeah, that's what I wore.
There you go.
The data pen.
That's an easy costume for you now. You just got to get the green jacket, and you can put all the pieces on it yourself. You got yourself a Halloween costume.
I'm not so much into cosplay though. I don't mind helping people out, but it means I need to shave again, which is not going to happen.
Very true.
Well, I shaved every morning. It was awful.
We're all brotherhoods of the beard here, so we understand.
Yeah. Makes my head look less like a biscuit.
So that medal, do you know how many other people have that? Was it the whole prop department that was essentially taken through all 5 films, or were there people that kind of came
costume effects, which is quite a small team. Quite a small team. And it was a very loyal team of the same people every time, pretty much.
That's
unless
amazing.
Someone died, but no one did. So I think, I don't know, there's probably only, I don't know, God knows, somewhere between 35 and 40 people throughout 5 years, I guess.
Wow, that's awesome.
Maybe more. I don't know. I can't speak for like the dressers. It might be more. Maybe there's 100. Who knows? But there's not that many.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Now, when you're on these Star Wars movies, Neil, are you working as a contractor for like ILM or Lucasfilm, or do you get hired as an employee?
Yeah, no, I get hired by the head of department.
Okay.
So I would be hired by the production designer or the supervising art director for the art department, or be hired by the costume effects HOD.
Okay.
Obviously, my contract still goes through Disney and Lucasfilm.
Right.
But they don't know who I am or
you're not
what I do.
Technically an employee of Lucasfilm or ILM.
Oh yeah, my payslips say not ILM, but they say Actually, they don't even say Disney. They set up these
Yeah, whatever shell company, so they don't have to pay taxes or something.
Yeah. So they don't have to pay their bills when they wrap. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. How often do you find yourself, if ever, working directly with, like, have you ever had to work directly with directors, anything like that on particular pieces?
This is embarrassing. Yeah, not very often. No, obviously with Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of face-to-face things with him about the U-wing.
Okay, yeah.
Which was tiresome, but it got there in the end. And then with JJ, this is the only time I really had a face-to-face with JJ. It was about the crashed AT-AT that Ray lived in.
Yeah.
And I managed to flick sand in my eye while I was talking to him. And then and it hurt so much, I just literally had to reel away and I look like a right twat. So generally, I try and avoid directors.
That's hilarious. JJ's like, man, is there something wrong with that Neil guy?
Yeah,
like, he couldn't even look at me.
Yeah, it's fine. Just burns. It's just builder sand in my eye.
It's all right. My eye's melting, but whatever you need, boss. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm not very smooth when I do get starstruck. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fanboy at heart. I do get starstruck.
It's hard not to.
Yeah, no, I mean, some people are just like, well, he's just, no, he's not. It's Oscar Isaacs. What do you mean he's a human being? What are you talking about? So, yeah, I'm not very good with that.
We'll talking about the sequels real quick. How was that experience? I mean, in the end, now that you can look back on it with some hindsight, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you're still proud that you worked on the films, but, with some of the reception and the way the narrative went, I mean, how do you feel about your time on the sequel trilogy?
I would do it again. I mean, look, the actual, okay, you mean the 3 sequel. Look, as much as people say that Force Awakens is A New Hope, I don't think anyone left the cinema after first viewing saying that, and I kind of get it. The beats are what they are, but yeah. I really like the Force Awakens. Same. I mean, it's got Harrison Ford in it. That really helps. the fact that Mark Hamill's doesn't help. But I really like it. Daisy's really good in it. Everyone's good. Oscar's a bit wasted, but I think it's really good. Second and third one, I don't think I'll ever watch them again. To be honest, I'm not going to lie to you. As much as they are visually pretty, I don't have enough hours in a day. Right. There's so much other stuff to watch. There's so much to look forward to. There's so much to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's not that they anger me. It's just like, meh.
I got you.
It's kind of. I feel like the reception now to the sequels is very similar to what it was like to the prequels in the early 2000s. And then it's just recently that people are starting to come back around and enjoy the prequels. It literally almost took 20 years for the prequels to get the love that people are now giving them. But I feel like that's probably going to end up happening with the sequels. 20 years from now, people might look back and say, you know what, they weren't too bad.
No, I don't know. I mean, they weren't too bad. Isn't a compliment, though, is it? Really? When you spend 300 or 400 million.
Yeah. They
weren't too bad. Built on the back of the greatest franchise ever in human history. That wasn't their brief, but but it is what it is.
So when
it's like the books. I read the books, half of them are shit, but I still read them.
Right.
True.
And I would still reread them because I've forgotten how shit they were. So maybe.
So as someone that worked on the films, I mean, kind of fanboyism aside, what was it like knowing that each film was going to go to a different writer and a different director, and then directors getting fired? I mean, did that, people working on the film, did you all kind of experience that? Did it affect what you all were doing? Or were you just like, hey, we're going to do our job and that's it?
It only did when I was in the art department, because you're that much closer to the grown-ups. When you're doing, that's what we call them. When you're doing costume effects and prop making, it all washes over you. You don't get involved. You're not even told. You're not even given a proper brief half the time, to be fair with you. So Solo was a big one, as far as a little bit of what's going on.
There's a lot of rearranging in that movie.
Yeah, but you kind of, you even as a minion, you can still see it coming to a certain degree. You hope it doesn't, but when it does, you understand why.
Right.
But does it affect you? To be fair, you might even get to remake something that you really enjoyed making. So that just gives it's more money in the bank. It's more work.
Yeah.
Financially, it's like, but if you see something that you spent ages on that's been canned, it's a little bit. You can't take it personally because that happens all the time. But you just, it is what it is.
Was there a lot of?
It's like on I've been on a film before where we're coming near the end of what should have been scheduled production, and they haven't even got a third act.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. No, that's more and more common. They start films before they got a script. Yeah. As long as they've got 2/3, they'll start a script. Hopefully, they've got 8 months to nail it, and then we finish it. It's just how it is now because the turnover is crazy. But it can work. Sometimes it doesn't. That's what Edge of Tomorrow was like, and it turned out brilliant. I love that movie.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow is fantastic.
I want to get a sequel for it, but apparently Emily Blunt's saying it's too expensive. So what's going on here?
Oh, was she going to be a producer on it?
She was doing an interview with Howard Stern over the summer, and they were talking about, and I guess with COVID and what it takes these days to make movies like that she doesn't know if those big budget sci-fi summer tentpole films will kind of be a thing moving forward.
Well, I mean, if she goes by the maths, it didn't do well.
Yeah,
it was a cult. It was a cult thing after the fact, isn't it? It didn't do well. I don't even think it made 100 million or made 50, 100 million. It didn't do well at all, considering it was bloody awesome and probably one of the best films of the year.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, definitely was.
And one of my greatest projects to work on for sure. I mean, it was so much fun.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming were you working on the suits and stuff they were wearing, like those mechanical?
To start with, yeah, we were in a team sculpting the prototypes for the suit, and that were literally just built upon Forrest Gump running legs. To initially went from that sort of level of screwing foam into these Forrest Gump legs so someone could move, into developing it into this full 3D printed, engineered bloody exoskeleton. It could be slung with cables. Yeah, it was brilliant, really good. And then just went on to props after that for a while.
Amazing. For Solo, did you guys have to redo a lot of work after the production shakeup, or were you pretty set?
To be honest with you, I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you what was a reshoot and what wasn't.
Okay.
Everything that I made for Phil and Chris, nothing was changed.
Okay.
For Ron Howard. So I think it was literally on camera stuff. I think all the conceptual stuff had already been done. They'd done all the work.
Okay.
Done all the work for that.
Was there a major difference between working on Ron's production and then Phil and Chris?
No, I was done by then.
Yeah.
I never got to work. I was already on. I'd moved to Australia actually.
Man, you've been all over the place with your work. Thailand,
with
unfortunately.
That was supposed to be my final destination, but it didn't work out. There wasn't enough work there. I did I Am Mother. Have you seen I Am Mother?
Oh yeah,
I have
on
not.
Netflix, right? Netflix.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice little.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's like a $4 million movie.
That was only $4 million?
Something crazy.
Wow.
Like that.
Well, you guys did a damn good job then, because it looked a lot more than $4 million.
$1 million of that was Weta's robot suit. Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of on a tangent here, but have you been watching Foundation, the Isaac Asimov short story based show that David Goyer has on Apple TV Plus?
Oh, I'm not on Apple TV, but I love all those short things like Death, Love and Robots.
I feel like you might dig it. The best way to sell it is Star Wars, Game of Thrones. So I'll leave it at that. But I think someone that is into props and sci-fi, and I think you'd like the look of the world. So
I've not actually seen Game of Thrones, but all the Game of Thrones costume designers were on The Matrix. They did the costume on The Matrix while we were doing props.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was all the guys from Dublin came over and did the costume in Berlin. So everyone gets to meet everyone. It's pretty mad, especially in these big franchises, because when they die, you just need to find something else to do, right? It's like there's no Game of Thrones, there's no Star Wars.
It's
What
just
are you
like the video game industry. Once a game wraps up, you move on to the next one. Can
Yeah.
you give us any Matrix spoilers? What's the biggest spoiler you can tell us for the
I think the spoiler was I didn't make it to the end of production. There you go.
Ugh,
All right.
Because
you're not in.
No, it was COVID. COVID screwed with us.
Oh, okay.
Put everything
Yeah.
back a year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not in the Matrix as a background character. We
No,
won't see you on screen. Okay.
no. I'm in Batman though.
You're in Batman.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to see.
So
I might be. I should be out of shot. I might be standing there with like a prop in my hand, getting shushed out the way.
Speaking of that, this is fun. Okay, so do you remember in the Mandalorian season 2 that one scene where
Oh yeah, where there's that guy standing there.
so, does that ever are you ever freaked out like being near set in case something like that happens where you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
on a
man.
movie you would get spotted. On TV it might slip through.
Yeah.
That would never happen on a movie. There's too many eyes on you.
yeah,
Christian Bale would be yelling at you from
Yeah.
behind the
No,
camera.
Actually, on Casino Royale, I was on set. My friend said, let's go and have a look around. And I wasn't supposed to be there. So I took a ruler. That's what you do. You take a ruler. So you can just be measuring shit.
Tips.
And
Listen up, people. We got tips here.
And they were like, action. And I was on set.
Neil's
Like,
pretend measuring the set like he's doing something. That's fantastic.
This was like my third day ever in a film at Pinewood. So we've run away and I got away with it. And it was a scene where what's her name? The Bond girl in that film.
Oh, Eva Green.
Yeah, well, Eva Green drowns. So I was right there.
Okay, yeah.
So I literally could not have been seen on set. That'd be bad.
I'm just picturing him there with the measuring stick. Like I think I got it. We got it. Don't
We're
worry.
holding it up to random
My
pieces.
Nike Air Max, top right. This would have been,
We got it. It's perfect now.
yeah.
That's
Ugh.
great.
All right, Neil. Well, we've come up on our hour time here. I don't want to eat up too much of your evening because I know you're over there in the UK. But before we let you go, I got to ask: with the two most recent projects you've been on, the Batman and the Matrix 4, which one
I've done 3 since then.
are Fantastic Beasts too?
But they're
Right?
rubbish. They're joking. They're
Which
2 big ones. 2 big ones.
yeah, which one are you as just a consumer of pop culture are you most excited to see hit theaters?
Oh, that's hard because both trailers were tight.
I'm assuming you just checked out the most recent the Batman one from this weekend then?
No, I have not. I've just seen the one where he's repeatedly beating that guy in the face, even when he's
Oh yeah, you
unconscious.
got a brand new trailer to check out that they dropped this
really?
past
Okay.
weekend. So
Gee, I mean, look, it depends how long you're happy to wait for things, because The Matrix has been a big, long wait, and the Batman has been like a year since we last saw him. Do you know what I mean? With Ben Affleck.
That's true.
They both look like a very different take on the last time we saw them.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? They both the new Matrix looks very different to
Resurrect. It was Revolutions.
Revolutions.
Revolution.
No, this is Resurrection. Yeah.
Yes, this is Resurrection.
I'm going to go with Batman. I spent the most time on that. It looks the most different to how we've ever seen him before. I think there's no sort of John Wick thing going on with him. So I'm going to say Batman.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out which Batman's which now in DC, because you still got Affleck showing up in the Flash movie. You know, you got Pattinson in the Batman. So
You got 1,000
I don't know who's showing up in the Flash movie. I think you should do some more research.
no, I mean they just said Ben Affleck's in Flash, so maybe I'm reading something wrong, but I know Michael Keaton's in it too, because they teased.
Oh, right. That's what I meant. Yeah. It's like a whole mad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're doing like a multiverse thing.
Yeah. It's a time travel. Yeah,
like
yeah.
Flashpoint or something like that.
Let's Flash. Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the Batman. I think is going to be very different. It's like the Joker compared to my Jack Nicholson.
okay.
I guess. Like that's how I guess I would describe it, because Joaquin Phoenix was mental. It was brilliant, and not what you expect. I'm guessing that's I'm guessing. I never spent any time on set. I just made models in a workshop, so we'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
All right, Neil. Well, love the stories, man. Had some good laughs here. We appreciate your time. Anytime,
it was a pleasure.
Anytime we'd have you back. You were a blast. And remember, listen to these tips here. If you ever make it to a Hollywood set, make sure to bring a measuring stick. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you never know if you could maybe get in a scene or not. All right, Neil. Thanks again for your time, man. Appreciate you. And
thanks, guys.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Take it easy.
See you later.
Thank you for having me.
You got it.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
All right. I like how it said that I kicked Neil from the chat. We gracefully removed him from the chat.
Kicked him from the call.
All right. Hold on, the show's not over. I just got old screens popped up. Go ahead, Nick.
No, it was a fun interview. I mean, hearing it from I love how we've had so many different aspects of production on our show already through interviews. I mean, with Nick Gillard, we had the more stunt action oriented kind of stuff. With Vincent, we had with Vincent and Alex, you really kind of had concept art direction, stuff like that. And then now with Neil having props, I mean, you really do if you kind of put together their experiences, you get a pretty broad range of what you can expect on not only Star Wars projects, but just kind of movie sets and projects in general. And hearing how each of their experiences is different depending on the department they're in, it is really cool. I mean, and if obviously Neil's resume speaks for itself. Man was the senior prop maker on Matrix Resurrections, and then all of his other work. He's clearly, at least by Hollywood's estimation, the cream of the crop. You can tell from the stuff that he's worked on. So it was awesome to get to hear his stories. And
oh no, he was. I feel like we kind of had him in a rhythm, Nick, where I probably could have pushed it an hour and a half, 2 hours, but
yeah. We could. We definitely could have kept.
I didn't want to tie up too much more of his time, but no, he had me cracking up on some of this stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, you are right. I mean, if we would have gotten in Lori Mary Kim at the end of last year, I think we would have been covered. We would have had stunts. We've got props. We've got concept art. We've got pretty much. Well, I guess we had stunts through Nick, but it was more of a global approach. But hey, there you go. That's the SWTS for you. We'll probably be slowing down on interviews like that moving forward, just to kind of wrap up the 2021 season of SWTS. It'll just be us two idiots, unless we get some people from the community on here. I know we still have a few of the artists out there that we'd like to talk to. But our producer has a real job now, so he said he's not able to track down the big leads these days, which is fine. We're good.
No.
I mean,
nobody's being paid here.
Yeah, Nick's ready for a break from interviews. I'm kind of ready for a break, and it's not a nervous thing. It's just it's something that I think about, right? Like all day today, waiting for the show. I'm just thinking about the interview, running it through my head. Where could we go? What am I going to say? Should there be structured questions? How much is Nick going to chime in? Where's he going to take things? Sometimes I just don't want to deal with that. I just want to think, all right, what stupid thing can I say today on the show talking to my man Nick? But that was awesome. Hey, there's Vincent's in the live stream. Thank you, Vince. That was awesome. He was hilarious, man. Thank you for helping us on that one.
But yeah, it's super fun. I mean, I don't think that we would have ever had a chance to talk to the people that we've talked to. And I think at the beginning of the year, Matt, you put out a challenge to us, like, okay, we're going to do X amount of interviews this year. And I think that we've done that plus some. So I'm super happy with how things went this year on the interview circuit. And hey, look, SW Props is in here. He needs to get Neil's phone number and just be like, hey man, what can you send?
Shit, Nick. That's right. I mean, I mean, our boy Props would definitely probably like to go hang out at Neil's house or get a custom prop from a guy on the set. So, no, that's great. Thank you to those in the stream giving us all the kudos. We do appreciate it. But like I said, they kind of make my armpits sweat. So I'm feeling a bit wet right now. And I even got a little bit of a little bit of grease underneath my man titties. But anyways, we're here. We don't have a lot of stuff to cover today. This was one of the most dead weeks in all of Star Wars that, Nick, I think it was probably the worst week of 2021 in terms of interesting things to talk about. I've got a fail to talk about. You know, I kind of went out on a limb and got some egg on my face, but it's all right. The report was still correct in the end. But before we get there, Nick, we've got a little word from our sponsor, right? Got to get in that word from the sponsor, who we can't really talk about much, but let's just say we're going to have some new things to discuss coming up for November and December that I am excited about. Getting into some new products from our friends at Manscaped. So, batting leadoff for the Los Angeles Dodgers is the Lawnmower 4.0 from our friends at Manscaped. This 4th generation trimmer is going to help you dodge hairy balls this October like the Orioles dodged the win column this season. Today's sponsor, Manscaped, are the global leaders in male grooming, and they're trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Swing for the fences and use the right tools for the job with Manscaped for all your hairiest grooming needs. Don't forget, you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SWTS at manscaped.com. All the way through December, that magical code will work for you. And then you could be like us and no longer have these tragic tales to tell your buddies at the bar about how you almost reduced your member by a few inches by trying to trim your pubic hair. Right, Nick? I mean, that does not happen when you're using something from Manscaped like the Lawnmower 4.0.
It does not.
I mean, hell, I'm not going to say to go do it, but thanks to its 4000K LED spotlight, you may be able to trim your pubes with the Lawnmower 4.0 in the dark. Don't take it from me. I'm just telling you the features it has. It's up to you if you're going to try it out. But this bad boy also has a 7,000 RPM motor. It's got that ceramic blade to eliminate nicks. It really hums. And of course, it's got that multifunction button with the travel lock for those of you that like to keep your nether regions clean on the road. But that's just the Lawnmower 4.0, my friend, right? We also want to get you engaged with the Performance Package 4.0. All right, this thing comes with the lawnmower. It comes with the Weed Whacker, which is the kick-ass ear and nose hair trimmer. But more importantly, it comes with some amazing liquid formulations that I have fallen in love with. And boy, oh boy, do they keep my boys fresh. I'm talking about the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner. So those are also in the Performance Package 4.0. Plus two free gifts in the Shed Travel Bag and one of Nick's favorite products from Manscaped, the Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. All right, my friends. So
love them.
You can get all of this great stuff for your balls by going to manscaped.com and using SWTS to get 20% off plus free shipping. All right, so get 20% off and free shipping with the code SWTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code SWTS. Use Manscaped to enter October with big stick energy. Your balls will thank you. Okay. Thank you, Manscaped. We appreciate you. Yeah, but like I said, we may be having some things coming up for the holiday season. A big push for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and of course, stocking stuffers and the like. Hanukkah, you never know. What is it? 8 days of giving, 8 nights of giving, 10? I don't know. Don't yell at me, but hey, Manscaped can help you out on one of those nights.
They have a product for every day.
There you go.
Could just get a new Manscaped product every day.
Man, I cannot stop sweating. It's like Nick's getting me. I also wear shirts that are way too tight. But up here in the north, man, it's happening. The weather's starting to shift, which means the Haywood house isn't going to turn on the heat until November, which ultimately means the basement's going to be about 64, 65 degrees. But even in that climate, I am still leaking.
You're still
like a sieve here. So anyways, all right, man, let's kind of get to it. Before we get to our just very light Star Wars topics, I do want to touch on, and it is kind of timely that we had Neil here. I want to touch on the DC fandom thing that went over the weekend, just real briefly. We got the first look at Black Adam, which, wink, wink, I may have seen stuff before, can't confirm or deny. But I'm kind of excited by that. I mean, I've had some of it described to me, and it does seem like they're going overly dark with this film. My man Dwayne's in it, and I've heard that he is just an ace when it comes to working on a production like this. I've been told that, while he may not, be there for 12 hours, 16 hours a day, when he shows up, Dwayne's kicking ass, taking names, and is as professional as it gets. But if you did see that clip, man, it's looking promising. I know Nick didn't have a chance to check some of this stuff out, so
I have not yet.
Black Adam, I think, definitely has some potential. Like we could get some real dark DC. I know DC is always labeled as being dark, but this looks like it. We could actually. I mean, it should be rated R, in my opinion, Nick. That's kind of the tone it looked like.
That's the one that I'm interested in. I mean, like, I don't think that anybody who listens to the show doesn't know that I'm kind of like down on DC. I mean, the latest Suicide Squad movie was entertaining. I don't know if I would necessarily want to follow up. But I really am kind of looking for something to prove to me that DC can be to the level of quality as Marvel movies. And I think the closest that we've ever gotten to that was the first Wonder Woman movie. So I'm fingers crossed for Black Adam, because like you, I'm a huge fan of The Rock. I mean, it doesn't matter what he's in. I'll watch it. Yep. Saw Jungle Cruise. I've seen everything that he's been in. And he's always aces. I mean,
dude, I'm borderline bisexual for The Rock, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no if he came up for an intimate.
He's like, hey, Nick, suck my dick, and you're like, okay.
But I think that it's like a travesty that he hasn't played a superhero already.
Right.
I mean, he was as close as you could get to a superhero just from his days in the ring in the WWE, and then he makes the transition over to film, becomes basically the biggest movie star in the world.
Yep.
And it takes this long to finally get him, suited up in an actual superhero film. So I'm super. Well,
I'm pretty sure he's been kicking the tires on this one for 6 years or so. I even think his production company has the rights to Black Adam, and I don't know much about the character outside of is kind of the foil to Shazam, I believe. I mean, he's someone that was given that power and then kind of went sideways with it. Got evil instead of good. The other thing with Dwayne and superheroes, he's going to be probably the first superhero actor that doesn't need one of those muscle suits.
Yeah, they'll just be like, okay, it's fine. Actually, just make his shirt a little tight.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'm pretty sure. I even think Dwayne would be like, get the fuck out of here with this thing. And it's just probably spandex, because he already looks like what they want Ben Affleck to look like when they put the suit on.
Exactly.
And it's funny, if you go back and you watch Justice League the first time, not the re-edit, you can really see like how much Ben Affleck was struggling in life. Like his drinking was off the rails again. He was getting heavy from it. He looked beleaguered. He looked awful. But yeah, so Black Adam, high hopes for that. I honestly think, just from a nostalgic point, I may be more excited for the Flash movie. And that's because, I mean, Keaton's in it. It's confirmed. You got like a very brief tease this weekend at Fandom. I know Affleck is going to be in it. I'm not sure. Neil must have thought I was talking about something else, but I'm positive Ben Affleck is in the Flash, because it is. It's like to me, Nick, I don't know if you ever watch. I believe the cartoon's called Flashpoint.
Flash. I haven't seen Flashpoint, but I used to watch the Flash on CW, and I know that
this would have been one of. You know how DC we make fun of for their live action films? I believe in terms of their cartoon universe for the DC movies, they're some of the best comic book cartoons out there. And this would have been a cartoon. And those of you that are more in the know, feel free to chime in on the live stream. But I know there's a cartoon where Flash, I believe he goes back and saves his mom. And that act essentially spawns different timelines.
Yeah, multiple. And that happened in the live action.
Okay,
too, yeah.
So I think the Flash movie is going to be somewhat based on that, and that's why you're going to have the Affleck Batman. I'm guessing Keaton's going to play the older Batman. It looks like they're going to include the 1989 Batmobile, which in my opinion is still the greatest of all time Batmobiles. And then finally, we got a trailer for the Batman, and the intern and I were talking after it came out, and we were both kind of like, meh. And then out of nowhere, Stunt Guy comes in. And again, I have to preface this dude hates everything these days. Like nothing is good enough in the movie business for Stunt Dude. So he comes at me, he's like, dude, the Batman, fucking kick ass. It's awesome. Like, okay, me and this guy, our wavelengths are completely separated at this point in time. Because I was expecting him too to be like, yeah, whatever, Batman, yeah, I'll go see it, but nothing really juiced me. And I've watched the trailer a few more times, and it has grown on me. But I guess, Nick, I'm someone now. I believe Pattinson is going to be in my short life the 7th fucking Batman. Okay, I had Keaton, Kilmer, Clooney, one of the best. What's his name? Bale, Affleck. And now Pattinson. Okay? And my other question is, and like I was saying to Neil, and he probably thought I was nuts, we have the Batman and we have Flash with Affleck's Batman. All, I'm assuming, the same DC universe. So who the fuck is the real Batman these days? Is it going to be Pattinson, or is that like a whole? That's just like its own little one-off thing that's going to tie in with the Joker. I mean, what?
That's what it's getting so confusing, because you have all these converging movies that don't have, like, what Marvel was really good at was connecting threads between individual movies, and it made sense that everybody was in the same universe. Like, DC has done a terrible job of that. Like, they're not very good at tying their films together. And now that you have Pattinson Batman and Affleck Batman existing in the same time period, like, I'm assuming the Keaton Batman might be like, oh, we went to like an alternate universe, or we went to like you said, the 80s timeline where he's still Batman or something. But like, these two people exist in the same space and time. So I don't know, man. Batman, like, it's getting to the points where, like, this is probably going to be a wait for HBO for me, even though it's probably going to be on HBO Max pretty fucking soon after it releases.
Okay.
Because that's how all the DC shit works. Yeah, dude, I don't know if I can get invested in it, because it's like, okay, this Batman movie comes out and it doesn't do well, just like the last one. So what are they going to do? Who's going to be the next fucking Batman? Are they just going to make another Batman movie with a new guy?
Well, it goes back to your original point and comparing it to the MCU. It just, I mean, DC's been trying to play catch up for years now, and they've sadly failed multiple times. So it's almost like they do have to do a full reboot again, and you'd think they would use the Batman to build off of that. Let's just steal the fucking formula. How hard is it, right? Just steal the formula.
It can't be that hard.
Put stingers at the end that loop into the next movie and rinse and repeat. Yeah. But it's like they refuse to do it.
Yeah, it's like, you don't have to match them tonally. Like, you don't have to make your movies semi-comedic. You don't have to have...
No, you can... I like the dark and gritty shit, but you need it's the same shit we've bitched and moaned about over the years with the sequel trilogy. You can't just plug and play artists and directors and characters and think that's going to create cohesion in the end. Oh, well. All right. There we go. There's really nothing else interesting going on. I still can't stop playing games from 10 years ago, so I haven't tried out anything new. Did finish Squid Game. I did take Nick's advice. I took your advice and did the dub, and boy, is it sucky, but it is better than trying to read, so...
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get used to it, because we're on episode 6 now, so we haven't watched it yet, but we did one with dub. We did episode 1 with dub, and then we did episode 2 with the subtitles, and we were like, look, I get it, like, yeah, the voice is set, like, you're actually hearing the spoken voice of the person, so you don't have that, like, disconnect between the voice and the person, but it's like, even Taylor said, she's like, yeah, it's a lot harder for me to look at my phone while I have to read. And I was like, yeah.
You see how terrible we all are? I had a fit last night where it's like, we all gather, the Haywoods gather on the couch to kind of put the family to bed. And there you have it. Little one on an iPad, dad holding his phone, mom holding her phone. And I was just like, we suck. We suck. I've already failed my kid. I know the moment she can get one, she's going to be asking for one. I know once she has one, she's going to be just like myself and Heather, like two crackheads. They're just like this all the time. Like, oh, I'm going to miss the latest news beat that's going to depress me and make me want to fucking leave the country. Big deal. But I can't break free. I can't do it. Swago's another thing that sucks me back in every night to the digital crack. It always
holds on. For me, for a while, like, since I haven't really been playing a game on my phone, like, I've been able to kind of keep it under wraps, like, put the phone down, mess more with, just what's on the TV or whatever else. But like, it is hard. Like, if you're watching a subtitled show,
it's impossible.
It like you wander, because you're like, the information is not being instantly processed by your brain. So
it felt to me like when I was watching it with the dub on, doesn't it look like a bad lip reading sketch?
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, and obviously they're trying to match the mouth to what the Korean they're saying with the English, and it's never going to line up. So it looks like one of those, the bad lip reading of the Super Bowl where they just make up random words to jam into the person's face movements. But I liked it. I would be down for a sequel. I will not spoil. I know Trevor was upset that I dropped Sopranos spoilers, but I'll never feel bad for a show that's from 2007. So
yeah, but say the Sopranos spoilers, like, moratorium ended a long time ago. I
think he thought that you had never seen it, where I was explaining to you that Taylor would have that one thing spoiled if you decide to watch the movie.
I knew that, but she didn't. So, I mean, we ended up watching Many Saints of Newark anyway, and I was like, hey, just a heads up, like, this is in it. It's going to spoil something, but it's after that, it's pretty clean. Like, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, no, it really,
I mean, what'd you think? It is kind of just a good mafia movie, right?
I liked it. It's interesting to me that, like, I feel like the way they pumped that movie up was they were a lot more focused on, like, the story of young Tony Soprano. Like, before I had seen anything about it, that's kind of how they sold it. It was like, you're going to get the story of Tony, like, young Tony through Dickie. And I was like, okay, well, cool. And then you watch it and you get like 10 minutes of Tony in this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, well, that's clearly not what they did. It was still interesting. It was still a good mob movie. I mean, was it to the level of, like, these old gangster flicks that you would see from Martin Scorsese, like,
no,
Goodfellas or Casino, or even, like, definitely not Godfather level or anything like that. But, there are threads that are kind of linked to The Sopranos. If you like the show, then you can point back and be like, oh yeah, Junior's a dick just like he was back, in the show and stuff like that. I hate
Junior's a cocksucker. I mean, I hate that guy in Sopranos. Really, I hate him in this one. Well, this week, big one, at least in the States. I think in the UK it's already out. And I'm definitely either hitting it Thursday night and getting COVID or going Friday. But Dune, I have a feeling
Eternals. Yeah,
I have a feeling Dune is going to be the movie of the year for me. It could be one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. after I watch it. But I don't read reviews, but it's hard to miss just some of the hype that has been around. I mean, this thing's been screened for months now, and it's finally hitting us common folk in the theaters, and it's just been pumped up and pumped up and pumped up. But knowing Dennis and what he's made before and the cast, I need to see this right away. I really am not trying to go Thursday night on the early opening, because I know I live in an urban area and it's going to be fucking slammed. I mean, it is going to be slammed. No one's going to be doing the right thing. So I'm probably going to have to delay it till Friday afternoonish. But I mean, I am going to do everything in my power, even if it kills me, to go see Dune this week.
Yeah, Dune is definitely on my list. I've also heard good things about the Eternals. Did you read the Dune? But I've never read Dune.
Nah, fuck
so,
no.
Like,
My only reference to Dune is like the campy 84 film that my parents showed me when I was 4, and I was just like, what the fuck are we watching? Like, I mean, it's just, I just remember, I think Baron Harkonnen, that big like fat guy with plugs in his belly flying around, and then Sting was in it. So that's what I remember from the original Dune. So no, I'm going in clean again. Haven't referenced the old movie, haven't checked out the books. I mean, obviously, words and shit are a struggle for me, and I've heard it's a pretty lengthy type of book, and I believe this movie is only telling part 1. I think Dennis is planning to do at least 2 more films to cover the entire novel. So, but I'm pumped, and hey, it's got Zendaya in it. Maybe we'll see Tom Holland show up on the red carpet, and Tom Daya in effect, right?
But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about that. I've heard good buzz about Eternals.
Yeah,
recently.
I saw that today. I'm guessing, Nick, would they have? I'm guessing press screeners have happened, because it seemed like today in general, which makes sense. It's Tuesday, but a ton of buzz on my Hootsuite today about Eternals getting pumped up. So
yeah, and hey, just for those of you who are listeners to the Star Wars Time Show, I know that we talked with Nick Gillard, and he had a project that he couldn't mention that he was working on for Marvel.
Oh yeah, and you guessed it was this,
and
we
right? we have some potential that it could be the Eternals movie. So you may get to see a little bit of Nick Gillard's work.
Yeah, because I mean, he pretty much said it was a fucking shit show, and he was brought in to. How about that? I mean, I love the fact that Neil did his homework and actually watched some of our stupid show before he came on, and he was calling out Gillard. He's like, man, that's a guy that talks like he doesn't want to work again. I'm just like,
I know. But you could tell, like, Nick's been in the business for such a long time, and you could tell he was like, you know what, man. If somebody's going to say that I can't work on a movie because of something I said on a dumb podcast that maybe 1,000 people listen to, then guess what? They can go fuck themselves.
He's great. I still need to send him a hat.
He was great.
Yeah, I need to send Nick a hat. I know they were on like a lockdown and post was all fucked up, and I'm just lazy, but it is in the cards to get him a hat. I still need to ship out our giveaway prizes, so that shows you how motivated I am these days. All right, so Trevor says he tried watching the 84 movie again, almost unwatchable. All right, I won't even mess with it. I'll just go in clean. Yes, I am doing theaters. I know Dune is hitting HBO Max day and date, but trust me, I am a audio and visual file. I've been a huge cinema lover. That was the biggest thing I missed with all this shit, and I probably don't go as much as I used to because I just can't trust my fellow man these days. But this one, I'm going to the theater. I would have loved to have seen James Bond at this point. Haven't made it. I want to check out The Last Duel in theaters too. Just haven't made it. You know, when you got a little kid and 2 working parents, Matt loses out on some of the fun time, and that's just how it is.
Stuff.
That's just how it is. I did get out and had a little bit of a photo shoot yesterday, though, so that's always positive. All right, buddy, let's go ahead and run through these quick topics we got and then put the show to bed here after the fan segment. So this is kind of a know-nothing, a nothing burger, as they call it on the far right these days. But I want to address it. Just, people don't think we're jerk-offs here. I'm a jerk-off. But last week, after a discussion with our source, who may or may not know people within the business side of Lucasfilm, gave me some juicy details to run with, and I ran with them. And I'm not going to sit here and apologize. And I'm talking about the post we had last week about Mando getting shut down due to the impending IATSE strike. And if you would have read the report in full, it was pretty much like, hey, the only way this is going to get saved is by an 11th hour miracle. And while I was kind of dramatic with the title, I wouldn't call it a Mike Zero clickbait thing, but I definitely dramatized the title to entice clicks. But if you read the article, and if you've been following the tea leaves and following the story to its end, the article technically was not incorrect, because while the business side of Lucasfilm was feeling like, yeah, we were putting in plans in place, 11th hour miracle, Hollywood this, Hollywood that, that's the only thing that's going to save it. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So Saturday night, a few hours before this was all supposed to go down, the strike that is, and it was between the IATSA and I believe the AMPTP. So essentially producers versus the help is what it was. But they got it done. And if you read some of the quotes from the president of the IATSA, it literally was like, yeah, this was a Hollywood-esque ending. So while we may have missed on the meat and things in the strike actually coming through, there were enough caveats, enough outs in the report that I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for running the story, even though some other Star Wars sites want me to. All right.
Now, Matt, I know that there were recently some announcements of like a ton of Marvel movies being delayed.
That was crazy. That was, I think, yesterday or maybe just today.
I think it was today. Do you know? I mean, like I don't know if you know, but do you think that it's connected to this potential, like work stoppage that was going to happen, or there's just not connected at all?
No, I think it's just it's the continual unbutt fucking of COVID and dealing with COVID. I mean, running a movie production these days is fundamentally different than 2019. Just talking to people that work in it. I mean, it's test everybody, shields, mask. If you're on set, you got to be wearing this. You can't be doing that. I mean, you got to shut down, or some people may have to quarantine. So I think it's multiple factors attributed to the new way of producing movies in COVID. But Nick's right. The entire lineup of the MCU films in 2022 has been shifted 2 or 3 months apiece. I think we were supposed to start getting stuff in the spring. That's all now not going to be till midsummer. And then some of the stuff that was supposed to be summer has now been pushed to the fall of 2022. Not canceled, but months delays. I don't know, man. I would think that the business people are smart enough to both plan for a potential strike while also not delaying current productions. So I'm going with COVID is probably the real reason. And it could be it could be supply chain stuff. I mean, think about, that's why we can't.
Supply chain issues
it's fucked up everywhere,
serious,
but real bad here because, first and foremost, we don't have enough ports equipped to accept modern shipping ships. I believe in America, most stuff has to go to the West Coast because ports in the South and in the East, from what I've read, are not deep enough to handle some of these new mega carriers. But yeah, it could be supply stuff. You never know. But yeah, Disney just kind of punted everything about 2 months apiece in 2022.
Yeah. So
the question is, Nick,
interesting time.
Is that going to bleed over into the TV stuff that Disney has planned for 2022? So who knows?
I know, right? We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, for the time being, the 11th hour save happened, and Mando season 3 will be continuing their normal production
and you know
schedule.
What? As someone that would like to kind of make a name for the site and himself, I'm okay taking the loss on that exclusive because it means
I know, right?
It means people are getting paid, they're getting what they want, and Mandalorian is not delayed. So in the end, I'll take the loss.
We're getting what we. Yeah, we'll take that.
I actually just got a report from Making Star Wars in my email, but I don't want to say anything until I make sure I say it the right way. But he just gave me a tip, so it seems like we're in the know now with MSW.
There we go. Look at that.
He actually invited me to go on the show last Friday, but an old buddy was in town with his little girl, so we had to have a dad and daughter date type of thing, which was great. Yeah, no, it was fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, I think I could probably become a rotating guest on MSW if I find some free time. All right, so moving on. This actually just came out, I think, late last night or this morning, but we got a few more details about the Boba Fett special plan for Disney Plus Day, which is November 12th, I believe. We actually have a title now, and I think it gives us clarity as to what to expect. It's going to be called Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. So like we were kind of speculating when we saw that there was going to be a Boba Fett special, this is going to be more akin to those little Marvel Legends shorts they did on Disney Plus to kind of prime you for the character-driven shows like Loki, WandaVision, and Captain America and all that jazz. But they kind of just did a trailer for Disney Plus Day, and in it we actually did get some screenshots, and I captured them for us. But it looks like we are just going to get a journey of the character. It looks like there's going to be some BTS footage sprinkled in from the OT, maybe special edition shoots. But I do not think, at least during Under the Helmet, you're going to get any sort of deep dive or clear footage of the new movie. Now, of course, they're probably going to lead up into it towards the end of this special, like, and now this is where the character's at, and maybe you'll get some shit there. But this Boba Fett special for Disney Plus Day is definitely going to be more for people that are not familiar with the character, to kind of prime them for his arrival on December 29th.
Yeah, I mean, this just goes to show you that, like, Disney is all in on the Boba Fett hype train. Like, they are, they're sparing no expense when it comes to the production, and then also just building the character even more than the legend had already been built. I mean, if there's some people know Boba Fett from the original trilogy movies and don't know anybody else, like he was that type of firebrand character. Even though he was only in the movies for a total of maybe 10 minutes. But I do think it's cool that it's going to be like a retrospective on the character. I assume that Tem's going to be involved at some point, maybe towards the end. But it's always cool to see essentially how this character came about from concept to reality, and then now to stardom in his own feature. So
yeah, I mean, he essentially went from a living prop in the original trilogy to being a titular character, as Nick said. I mean, it's the Book of Boba Fett for a reason, right? It's not about our buddy Din, although I know Din's going to be in it. Take it to the bank. They're boys now. They're bros. Like, look, my chain code, all the memes that came from that. I mean, come on. They have to be friends when, after Boba showed Din all those funny videos on his gauntlet there.
Yeah.
How long do you think this is going to clock in then? You think like half hour, 45 minutes or less? I
was going to say, like 45. I'd say 45 minutes is safe. I don't think they'll go an hour, because it's not like a BTS of book, and it's probably going to be focused more on, like the title says, the legacy of the character, not necessarily what is the future of the character or what's coming up soon for the character. They're probably going to say that.
I could even see like some Clone Wars footage getting thrown in there, because he has some fairly decent development via the Clone Wars. But I mean, some of the screenshots, people are like, oh man, is this new? And if you actually look, he's on stage with Warwick Davis somewhere. So this is like either a cosplay or just some, jerky thing they did at a celebration or a fan event.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I know I've seen this before, where you'll essentially have a Boba Fett cosplayer interacting with Warwick during a regular event. I don't think, obviously that's not Jeremy Bulloch in that suit. So, I think it'll probably just explore the fandom around the character itself, and not necessarily the people who play him. Because he had, Boba Fett's become an entirely independent character just due to fan love for him, and like fans blowing him up more than anything else. So I wonder if they'll explore that side of it, just like the fan reception and then everything that spawned from it, cosplay and all that other stuff for Boba Fett. So
yeah,
it should be interesting.
I want to know what he was eating in the Dune Sea to put on all that weight. Because I mean, if you look at one of these screen caps, and this is Jeremy's Fett, he's a slim guy. I like the more broad Fett, Thames Fett. I mean, clearly he's a bigger badass. So Neo's my guy, but just like I have a few times in my life, it looks like he threw on about 50 or 60 pounds in a clip, and he's living his best life these days. As Nick gives us some cat butthole to check out. I actually had that. I was doing a Zoom session with my students, and girl cat Leia gets up and almost like she was trying to start her very own OnlyFans. Just straight cat ass and cat vagina right into the camera for my poor students to enjoy. So I had to let her know that was not the right time to start that type of career and revenue stream for the household.
Inappropriate time. Later. We'll discuss it later.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, I mean, you're like in this video, we have Matt link the video in here. Like you literally get, I think it's 4 seconds of view at the Boba Fett.
Oh yeah,
stuff,
I took the screenshot. There's like 6 total screenshots, Nick. It's just him standing there in a black gray background, him on the Bespin set, him in the Slave One, and then him looking like the bozo that he was in the OT, getting ready to crash into the sail barge and not die, but we thought he died at the time. So just remember, this is dropping November 12th. That's going to be Disney Plus Day. All sorts of new shit dropping on Disney Plus, not just Star Wars. And I am expecting to get some form of proper tease for the Book of Boba Fett on that day as well, if not before. But as we've been talking, I mean, now that we know Book is December 29th, I really don't think they're going to be in any rush to trailer it. So that's why I'm thinking now November 12th is probably going to be the earliest we are going to see some Book footage, period. And I'm hoping some of the other shows give us a little, taint tickle. Like Kenobi, Andor, Bad Batch. I mean, I want little updates on all of them because I'm a greedy bastard.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. What day is November 12th? Is this going to be a sucky day for me? Is it like a midday week or?
November 12th is a Friday.
Yeah, I like it. I'll be able to dive in just in case I got to do any of my Star Wars fan content OCD that I get wrapped up in. Like, oh my God, I got to make this so 10 people can watch it. Like, it's a sickness, my friends. It is a sickness. Most people would have gotten the clue by now, but not me. I still feel like I feel like that there's that one person out there sitting in their mother's basement that's gonna go, fucking A, that guy in that channel deserves some credit. I mean, we got a comment this week. Nick, let me read it for you. Actually, I can't pull it up because we're on the stream now, but it said, man, you really deserve more followers and views. And I was like, preach, brother.
Thank you.
Preach. I agree with you.
Go tell him.
I agree with you. So November 12th, Disney Plus Day. Also the day we'll be getting Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. Plus, I think Shang-Chi hits, Jungle Cruise hits for everyone. Jeff Goldblum's Goofy series gets some new episode, which I'm excited for just because he is such an oddity to watch, and that's what makes it entertaining.
He is.
But yeah, Disney Plus, they're out there flexing their muscle these days. And I saw a report, Nick, I think it's like by 2025 or something, they believe they will have doubled Netflix's user base.
It wouldn't surprise me, man. It would not surprise me. I mean, they have a lot of things going for them in terms of bundling, which makes it cheaper than just base Netflix. Like right now, I pay $15 a month for base Netflix. That's the 4K, right. the best one. And I pay less than $14 a month or $15 a month for the entire Disney Plus bundle. I mean, so you have people that are getting it on the bundle. You have people that are just getting the base subscription, which is way cheaper than Netflix.
Yeah.
And then their original content is actually what drew people to Netflix in droves originally.
Marvel,
Marvel original
100%.
content is what kind of blew Netflix up. And now they have that. So I don't see any reason why they couldn't do that in 5 years.
Yeah, and they're
be at the tippy top.
They're also not dealing with the. I mean, call it what you will, but what Netflix is dealing with right now, at least from a PR standpoint, with the Chappelle special.
Yeah.
Say what you will about Dave and the special, but Netflix and their top dogs are not looking great these days, and kind of getting dragged, and some of them should. I'm not going to get into like all the political and social justice stuff, but let's just say they probably should have talked about some of the things that they have said publicly before they said them publicly. Not good looks, because I actually have a family member that's high up over there, and he's just like, yeah, dude, it's been tense as fuck these past 2 weeks here, and they're having like a walkout tomorrow. It's all crazy, but
yeah,
Disney Plus isn't dealing with any of that currently.
Yeah, the Disney Plus stuff is, I mean, it's a family-friendly streaming platform, so you're not going to have to deal with firebrand issues like that, more than likely.
Speaking of bundles, because my Disney Plus, I don't think I pay more than $3.99, because I did that super deal where if you signed up for 4 years, it's like free almost. Did you pull the trigger on the Paramount Plus thing we talked about? Because I have not, one more day to decide.
Really? Okay, I didn't. But I was talking about it with Taylor the other day. I was like, they got, like, we could get Paramount Plus. They got this bundle. It's only $10. Blah blah blah. But like, I just don't think I'm gonna use it, even if I did get it. Right. Like, if anything, I'll just do the solo Paramount Plus for X amount of time while we're watching whatever, and then let that lapse and then come back to it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna be skipping out on the Showtime bundle.
All right. Yeah, I've been hemming and hawing too, because I'm a fan of Discovery. I'm a fan of all the Star Trek shows on Paramount Plus. I think they're fantastic. And I know Discovery Season 4 is coming back next month, so I'm like, I'm going to be re-upping my Paramount Plus anyways. Should I jump in and bundle it with Showtime? I think if you do Mac Daddy of both, so Paramount Plus, which no ads and all that hunky-dory, and if you had Showtime, it's something like $14.99 a month, I believe.
Yeah,
which isn't
horrible. And then you can get the ad-supported one is $10, so you can even
save yourself ad-supported $10, or if I just did Paramount no ads, it would be $10 itself.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I said, the offer goes dead tomorrow, so I was just seeing if you were gonna push me off the ledge or pull me back a bit, and I think you just pulled me back.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm gonna pull you back because honestly, if you look at Showtime selection, the only thing that you would probably watch is New Dexter. Yeah. But we don't even I don't even know when that's happening.
And I feel
I don't know if there's.
I would want to watch that with Heather, and she's never seen the original, so we probably have at least 3 months of catch up there, because
exactly.
We're working through Succession right now, and hot damn, am I glad we decided on that one next, because that is a fucking show. Love that. Really? Okay. Yeah, that's on HBO. It's we're only in the middle, the middle of season 2. Season 3, I believe, just dropped on Sunday of this week, so no spoilers. I love it. I love it. I can't tell if it's satire, if it's comedy, if it's drama, but it's, to me, what it's probably like to be a Murdoch, right? Being that family running a huge media empire, and Rupert owns most news around the world, whether you knew that or not. Fox News being probably his biggest poison. But they kind of parallel that stuff with the Roy family, and it's fucking fantastic. Like, uber rich, wealthy people, I imagine, act just like these scumbags, and I think that's why I like it so much. It's like, these people are awful. Humans, just awful. Yeah. They're awful to each other. They're awful to us, what they call the normals, the normos. It's just good stuff. All right. So, our last little topic, we got some story time for you. And I said I wouldn't be doing these anymore, but guess what? This was the culmination of the War of the Bounty Hunters, so we at least have to pay off on the summer-long tease of, all right, well, why did this happen? Why did Crimson Dawn steal Han Solo to fuck with Boba Fett and to get the whole galaxy engaged? And We finally got that answer, and it looks like things are going to continue into at least 2 more miniseries starring Crimson Dawn, Kira, and the like. So, Nick, I believe a few of the crossover issues are still going to have the War of the Bounty Hunters thing, but at this point, the main plot was resolved in War number 5. And I'll try to summarize it as quickly as possible. But Boba was fantastic, all right? He was fantastic throughout this miniseries. For people like me, and you didn't have much respect for him outside of the Neo version that was introduced in The Mandalorian, this is what you need to realize how he can be that guy cracking heads, kicking ass, taking names, and all that fun stuff in the Mandalorian. So what happens in this final issue? They finally they get off the pot, right? Shit or get off the pot. They've been shitting for a long time, and now they finally got off the pot. And make a long story short, Solo does end up getting taken to the executor, however you want to call it, Vader's capital ship, the big one, Piet's, the one that Piet commands for him. So, at one point in time, the Empire had Han Solo in Carbonite in one of their hangars. The interesting thing here is Boba's plan, because, he's like, well, shit, the ship took off. We can no longer do what we planned to do, board it, get them, and get out. So what Boba does, he just fucking drives the Slave One up to the executor and radios in. He's like, hey, guys, it's me. Remember me, Boba Fett? And they're like, well, sir, his code does check out. It's kind of old, and he is a member of the Bounty Hunter Guild. I think, something like Vader, maybe one of Vader's guys. So Piet's like, oh, yeah, fuck it, let him in. So, I mean, the Empire just lets Boba Fett land because at one point in time, he had a code that worked, and he's in the Bounty Hunter Guild. You got to remember, he's still with Valance. They kind of have a very tense partnership right now. And they both agreed, like, listen, we'll help each other until we will no longer help each other. Mm-hmm. And, just as it looks like they're still going to need each other's help, they're on board the ship, they're tracking down the Carbonite package. Boba's like, hey, man, do you remember the deal we had? And Valance is like, yeah, when it's time, we'll just do our thing and may the best man win. And as he's saying that, you see a thermal detonator flying through the air, sticks to the dude's chest, and just explodes his cybernetic body wide open. And Boba Fett's like, yeah, by the way, that time is now, my friend. He's like, you should look into another profession. So it's just he has a code, but he's also a cocksucker. And it was hilarious. Yeah. I mean, this guy Valance helped them. They were still working with each other. And just as Boba figures, like, you know what, I really don't need him anymore, as they're talking about their deal, he just throws a sticky grenade at his chest and takes him out. So we leave Valance with his guts just exploded. Like, machine parts are all over the place. He's taken out. So while this is going on, don't forget, the rebels were also kind of stranded in space chasing after this Imperial shuttle. And now they're fucked too, because Leia's like, we fucked up. Luke's a pussy. Lando, you couldn't fix the ship quick enough. They got him. But here's where something interesting happens. They actually get some radio chatter from the executor saying, hey, that Corellian freighter out there, you are cleared to land in hangar XYZ. And they're all like, what the hell? Like, the Empire is inviting the Millennium Falcon onto their Super Star Destroyer. So they land because Lando's like, you know what? Something feels familiar about this message and what's happening right now. And when they land, an Imperial officer comes out and essentially says, I'm with Crimson Dawn. We're helping you. Kira really kind of wants you guys to actually get Han back. That her plan was not for Han to actually get stolen. While she did steal him herself, her plan was to ultimately save him and return him to the Rebel Alliance. So you learn, and I think this is going to kind of play out big over the next miniseries coming down the pike. You learn that Crimson Dawn has infiltrated the Empire at this point in time. They have agents as officers in the Empire. All right, so the rebels, they make it to Han's location. They're getting ready to unfreeze him, and who do you think shows up? Boba Fett. He's like, not so fast, motherfuckers. This dude's mine. Like I told you guys before, like I won't kill you as long as you don't mess with my job here. It's part of my code, my honor code. And just as it's about to get hairy for the rebels, while they're doing their thing outside, the Hutts are still being idiotic, right? And they are now attacking the Executor with their fleet. Shooting it, throwing missiles at it. It's really not doing anything, but they're a nuisance. And one of these missiles hits right where everyone's at with Han Solo, rips a hole in the hull, and what do you think happens? Han Solo flies the fuck out into space. He's like,
he pulls a Leia.
Yeah, exactly, Nick. You're right. He's a super Han, but at least he's in carbonite, so you don't have to justify how a human can be out in space for that long. So right there, the rebels are like, okay, well, nothing we can do. And Boba Fett, again, just fantastic man. He's like, well, sucks for you guys. I'm out, and just dives out the hole and flies away, right? Because he's got a jetpack on, and I guess that helmet that you can still see his skin is somehow hermetically sealed for zero G space, whatever, right? It's science fiction. We're not going to pick on the physics. Yeah. But he actually is flying through space, trying to fish Han Solo back. And he actually, I guess Han, maybe they weren't all the way in the atmosphere because Han falls down to the planet, meaning he wasn't technically in space, I guess. But he has a last second save, like he angles the shit out of it, pulls him out of the ocean, flies away. Boba Fett gets Han back. All right, so that's how he got him back. There we go. It was kind of fluky, but also through his ruthlessness and the way he dealt with his fellow bounty hunters. Because by the end, he had taken out or inflicted pain on every major bounty hunter, I believe, outside of IG-88, and that's only because Darth Vader took care of him. I mean, he fucked up Zuckuss, he fucked up Forlom, he fucked up Dangar, and Valance at the end. So,
well, if we need any reason for the general bounty hunters to hate Boba Fett's return to the game in book, now we know why. We're perfectly set up for skirmishes between these former bounty hunting allies.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad blood at this point after War of the Bounty Hunters. There's no doubt about it. So just to wrap it up, we did get an epilogue. And this is where things get kind of interesting for future Star Wars comics, and I'm thinking maybe even some live action. So you kind of get some exposition. Kira is talking to her brood like, hey, this was a good day. Yada, yada, yada. While I didn't intend for Han to get captured, I really did want to save him. And for reasons we understand, she's like, our ultimate goal was achieved. So this was like the other main thing of War of the Bounty Hunters. Why was Crimson Dawn doing this after all? And what we learned is her main plan was to fuck up the Hutts and their relationship with the Empire. And she achieved because what I have not talked about yet, remember Boku was attacking stuff, Nick? Palpatine radios into his buddy Vader and is like, hey man, quit playing tag with your son and go deal with these assholes. and just, what? No. We're not going to blow up their ships and make an example that way. You're going to go ahead and make an example for me. So what Vader does is he lands on the Hutt capital ship and murders the entire Hutt council. So Boku and all the other Hutt council, like the Council of the Hutts, he kills them all. And that's ultimately what Kira was looking for. She wanted to drive a wedge in between the relationship the Empire had with the Hutts so the Dawn could continue to kind of work themselves into that position.
Interesting.
Here's the really interesting thing, and while I think it may show up in future Star Wars, as she's giving this speech, we're looking at like panels, reflection panels, like we have new enemies, and they show Dr. Aphra, but we may have new allies, and they show Valance because he got fucked over by Fett, and obviously Fett's not going to like Dawn, and Dawn's not going to like Fett. But then it shows the hall or the room they're in where she's addressing Crimson Dawn. And who the fuck's there with her? Ren of the Knights of Ren. And like two or three of the knights that we see in The Rise of Skywalker. So one can assume now, via canon through the comic books, that the Knights of Ren were a part of Crimson Dawn. Which, to me, Nick, and this is why I asked the question of the week this week, could potentially play into the Book of Boba Fett if they are going to kind of tap into him becoming a warlord, a gangster, and Crimson Dawn is more than likely still out and about. Knights of Ren tied the First Order. Is Crimson Dawn tied the First Order? Were there agents within the Imperial eventually became First Order? So I think what we're getting here, my friends, is more hindsight, I guess, to flesh out the sequel trilogies and some of the players and factions a bit. And it looks like Crimson Dawn is going to have a bigger role in First Order, the Remnant Empire, than we may have believed before.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's two things that I learned from this story time. One, the Empire needs to fix their code system. They're like, it's an old code. It's like, no, when the code is finished being used, delete the code, because it's worked twice against them now. Once with Boba Fett, and then once with fucking episode 6 with the Rebels. They're just like, oh yeah, it's an old code, but whatever, they can get in. Fix your code system. 2, Star Wars is starting to have a bit of a Kira problem, because this character was introduced in a live action film and has now, like, she's starting to become bigger than comic books. Like, the stuff that's happening in this thread, and the fact that she's still alive as far as we know, like, you're starting to have an issue with, like, if she's going to stick around and she's as impactful as she is as a character, she should probably come back into the fold in something that is more. I think, Nick, that's
kind of what I'm pitching to you. Like, could she be this other main faction leader that we've heard rumors about in Book of Boba Fett?
I mean, I would hope so, because
that would be like a Luke Skywalker secret. Okay, that's probably in terms of keeping it secret up until this point is what I mean. Not in terms of fanboys and fangirl reactions, because clearly, I mean, we all love Kira, but she's not fucking Luke Skywalker. I was more talking about if they were able to keep it quiet that Amelia was in book or is just lightly in it. Maybe she's a hologram in it. That would be impressive. But I don't know. I feel like the fact they did this miniseries, and the next one is going to be Crimson Reign, where you're going to find out more, like, how much more they're actually enmeshed in the Empire and other pockets of the galaxy. And then after that, Nick, maybe this resonates with you, because I think this would have been EU fans, or I saw certain fans react to this, but the next miniseries is called Hidden Empire. Does that ring a bell for you, for like old EU type of stories? Hidden Empire?
Hidden Empire, it kind of does. There was a story in old EU about essentially a fleet that was sequestered away in unknown, I don't know if it was unknown space, if it was called that back then, but it was outside of the reaches of Imperial influence at the time that everything happened with the fall of the Empire. And they didn't know that the Empire had fallen, but when they came back into civilized space, they were like, they kind of found out about it, and they set out to essentially try to regain control of the galaxy under the Empire.
Does that not sort of line up with the Remnant and the First Order ultimately?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. I mean, the Remnant is very similar to that. I mean, holding on to the last vestiges of power in whatever areas that you can. But yeah, I mean, that story could definitely set up very well the events that we're seeing in Mandalorian, Book of Boba, everything.
All right.
Everything.
So that's what I'm saying, man. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something in the Mando timeline that addresses Crimson Dawn, Hidden Empire, the events of War of the Bounty Hunters. It just feels like, this stuff is all too coincidental that, like, oh, hey, after we just made Boba Fett radical. We're going to do a whole mini series to explain how he was even more radical back in the original trilogy. And then we're going to give him his own show. It just seems like the dominoes are kind of falling at the right time here for all this Boba Fett narrative to be popping up. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree. They all have to be linked in some way, shape, or form. So, all right. Yeah, big stuff. Well, there we go. So I'll be committed to. I'm always going to keep reading Vader and Star Wars. I'll dip out of Afra and Bounty Hunters once it loses the crossover banner. But once Reigns starts up, I believe that's going to be another miniseries and crossover. I'll definitely get into it because it was. There was a couple slogs in there, but the core War of the Bounty Hunters, issue 0 through 5, it was some fantastic Star Wars canon for fans of Bounty Hunters, Boba Fett in particular. All right, man. Cool. Let's get through the fan segment. Something's going on over on my end. I don't know if it's my camera, my system, or what, but it just keeps clicking and stopping. I don't even know what the hell the stream may look like or if we're even going to get a clean recording here. But I feel like R2-D2 is about to quit on me, so... fan segment time. All right, we do this every week. If you're new here, we like to honor our fans because why not? They sometimes honor us, not all the time, but sometimes. But to get involved, we have two methods. You can either get engaged with our question of the week, which drops every Tuesday morning, typically around 8 Eastern time, on our Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. You can leave a response in the story or on the post itself, and we choose, typically 5 comments a week, and we feature them during the fan segment. The second way to get involved in the way that we tricked a lot of you into just watching and listening to our show is the top 5. All right, so that is we kind of honor Star Wars artists every week based on our hashtag Star Wars Time Show. All right,
indeed.
So that's how to get involved. So first up, Nick, we've got our question of the week. I just need a second here to get it up on the screen. Yeah, I think it's my system. Everything is just bogged, but it's saying my CPU is only at 19%.
That your audio is fine, but I do see your video jumping every now and then.
Yeah,
that's just on my
side. Something's fucked up, man. I can see the camera itself, the fucking lights go in and out, so I don't even know what's happening right now. Hopefully we can get through these last 15 minutes. All right, so the question of the week was, would you want Crimson Dawn in the Book of Boba Fett, and why? All right. I'll take this first one because it's on my reading level. Yes, of cause. All right.
Of cause. Yeah. Galaxy Fun Photography. Giving us just a flat yes, of cause. Yeah.
Yes, of cause. That's going to be my new way of saying a course, a cause.
There we go. All right. Next up, Tong Wars says, yes, an excuse to see Maul on screen is a good one. Be cool to see Crimson Dawn in a rivalry with Black Sun, with Fett working for one of the syndicates. This would pave the way for Prince Izor to make a screen debut. He'd make a great antagonist against Maul, and then Star Wars Blocks
like this
came in to make sure that Tong Wars was up on all things Star Wars. He says, at Tong Wars, Maul is dead. At Thatcher Point, watch Star Wars Rebels. I assume that the Thatcher means that point. But yes, he was just making sure that Tong was aware that Maul died, is killed in Star Wars Rebels. But you could see him in flashbacks. I mean, flashbacks are always a possibility, especially when you're talking about Crimson Dawn, seeing how things were progressed along as Kira came along and took the mantle of the leader. Because the last time we saw Kira in any sort of moving picture format, she was merely an underling to Maul.
She was going to essentially work with him. You would have to imagine train a little bit. Not in the Force. She didn't have the Force. But, Nick, I must be talking too much today. She didn't have the Force in the comic books. And she did go toe-to-toe with Vader in some melee combat, but once he felt like actually trying, it was lights out. I mean, our only potential now to see live-action Maul again, I mean, you could argue Kenobi and or the timelines work out, or if they ever decide, like Nick said, to actually further develop what was started in the Solo movie. But outside of that, Mando timeline, Maul is off the table.
Yeah. All right. Next up, SW Black Series Clips, one of our favorites, says maybe a quick bump in or a tease in the Mando timeline would be cool, but I need more. I'd rather have them save Crimson Dawn for a solo series follow-up. We need to see how the story plays out between Maul, Kira, and the gang. There's just not enough time to do that in Book of Boba Fett flashbacks. And yes, I had to Google how to spell Kira. Key, Q-I.
You know what, though? I want to
R-A.
address that because there's too many young people in this world that don't do that type of stuff. They'll just throw out their own thought in their head. I mean, even young people. There's a lot of people in this world these days. They'll just blurt out their own facts or what they think it should be versus taking the 2 seconds like SW Black Series Clips did here to verify it. So kudos to you, SW Black Series Clips. It's a good skill to have. Yeah, I mean, always check multiple sources. If 10 sources are saying the same thing and one isn't, guess what? The one not saying it is probably Fox News. All right, moving on.
There we go. Good stuff. But yes, I agree. I would like some solo follow-up content. Next up, last one for the question of the week this week. This is at Figure Hurts. He says, if we get a little tickle tease and a flashback, then they can bend me right over and fully probe my Crimson Dawn as much as they want, as much as they want in, say. The final ejaculation of the Kenobi series as Ewan gives us his live-action duel with Maul. Dreams and fantasies, I know.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be great. Hey, they could throw another fucking Maul showdown and just have Kenobi fight all of his enemies at one time. In this
Sith Lords are his speciality.
They are his specialty. So, hey, have him fucking fight Maul and Vader at the same time, 2-on-1.
Yeah, he just goes like, he's all hocked up on spice. He's like, his shirt's ripped open. He's like, yeah. I mean, he's like that motherfucker in Star Wars Visions, the twins, right at the end where he does a hyperspace fuckboy maneuver. He's like, like hyperspace himself into Maul and Vader. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, there's a reason Nick and I don't write for Star Wars, but it would be fun.
Right? It would be fucking cool, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Figure Hurst, for your response and everybody else who responded to the question of the week this week. And that's going to bring us into the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. And as Matt tells you every week, you can play in this little segment here by tagging us at Star Wars Time Show on all of your Star Wars art-related posts. It can be toy pictures. It can be fan art. It could be vector art. It could be poop art. It could be whatever kind of art that you want to tag us in. That's Matt's favorite, scatological art. And then also throw the hashtag Star Wars Time Show on those as well. And that's how we see you. And that's how you can get your chance to make it on this.
You know what? Now that you mentioned it, I bet there is a famous artist out there for using their own waste, right? I guarantee somewhere appreciate like you just take a dump in your hand and then throw it up against a canvas and call it a
it's
Pollock.
Like the Jackson Pollock of poop art. Definitely somebody out there doing that.
Sign me up.
All right, we're gonna kick this segment off with at Lalo Creativo, LALOCREATIVO, and this shot here, I mean, Matt, you might have to fill me in on what you think the methodology behind this was.
It's a straight digital mashup, because if you go to Lalo's profile, they show you the different art pieces mixed together. But yeah, it's wild, because I mean, you've got different eras of troopers in there. You got clone troopers, stormtroopers, first order troopers. I even believe they have the first order. No, that might be standard AT-ATs. You got a McQuarrie Vader as the main subject.
Yeah.
The exploding Death Star in the background. So it's a hodgepodge of random digital art pieces that Lalo forms together to create a cohesive, almost like poster style piece of art here. Yeah.
I mean, what really stood out to me is, one, the front and center, like you called out, the McQuarrie Vader, and then just the color, like he saturates the colors a lot, which really just makes the picture pop.
Yeah.
Like the red-orange background of the exploding Death Star, the vibrant red of the lightsaber that kind of reflects off of the Vader figure, And then it's a beautifully chaotic scene that we see taking place here from Lalo Creativo. It was really just well done, caught my eye, super, super vibrant, super good stuff. So yeah, at Lalo, Lalo Creativo on Instagram. Make sure to follow. Next up, I mean, this was a fun shot from at Chang, CHANG_smoker. And what we have here is a magazine cover featuring I assume this is like a John Wick stormtrooper
just
or something that we're seeing.
Man magazine, man, and this guy's just posing magazine for it.
Yeah, and the headlines are the second Death Star in the works, fastest TIE fighter jocks in the loop. And then, yeah, like Matt said, you have a fully suited man with a stormtrooper helmet on. He's got almost like a short katana slung over his back. Yeah. I just thought that it was a really creative piece. This is probably something they pass around the Death Star break room.
There you go.
Like once a week or once a month you get an interview with a new stormtrooper telling them about this is TK582. He's he does the toilet maintenance here.
He's Mang of the week.
He's this week's man. And then they just kind of pass it around the break room. I just thought it was really cool. It was a cool concept. I love the magazine cover style that they put in it.
It's super neat. And I'll also make the point that there's just something fun, cool, whatever you want to call it, about characters in normal street clothes wearing stormtrooper buckets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I dig it. Yeah, there's a few shots out there where you kind of dress troopers in non-traditional gear, and it just fucking works. It just works. I mean, this is something I'd argue if I ever went back to work, maybe I would wear a stormtrooper helmet to keep myself safe from all the weirdos out there. But it is fun. I believe Chang, this was an actual challenge they got mixed up in with some other toy photographers that also created their own magazines with different licenses. It didn't just have to be Star Wars. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, just it's a very cool idea. It's a cool concept, and then it was executed perfectly. So digging this one from at Chang Smoker.
Very cool concept and execution there. Next up on the top 5 is at Manny, MANI_Johnson69. Nice. And we have it's a really poignant shot here of Vader and this would be Star Wars Rebels Ahsoka kind of in an embrace in the snow. Looks like there's it almost looks like a downed X-Wing behind them, kind of. It's hard to tell, but just a very poignant moment. It almost makes me it reminds me of the end of Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7, where the light cruisers crashed in the snow, but we never get to see an actual moment between
the epilogue scene.
Vader and Ahsoka.
I think what you're saying is Ahsoka would have popped out of off to the stage there. She would have showed up and just started hugging Anakin and be like, "Bro, I know it's you, man. I got you." And that's where they're at. And it is. It is a what if. It is a full on what if. And like I said last week, after seeing the last tale in Lego Terrifying Tales, which to me was a what if, I would love to get what if Star Wars. I enjoyed what they did with Marvel. I know not a lot of people did. I don't understand why, but I don't really care because I liked it. It was fun how they kind of they made it seem like all these little episodes were just kind of on their own, but towards the end they actually tied it all together. And you had this culmination battle, which I thought was pretty rad, and just loops into what happened in Loki with all the timelines. And I think they could do that in Star Wars, but there's too many sensitive people that I don't think could handle this type of content. Like, Darth Vader would never hug someone; he would stab her in the heart. It's like, all right, well, that's like you called What If, motherfuckers. That's what it's why it is called What If.
I mean, basically, you have a whole fake canon that's already established for Star Wars called Legends. You might as well just say like, "Oh, this was a Legends moment."
There you go,
something like that. You know, could be.
And I think I don't know if it was Klondike or someone in our Discord, I believe. But during I won't spoil anything, but during the final episode of What If, let's just say some multiverses are traversed. And a lot of people are saying one of them was Star Wars because they saw Mustafar and Vader's castle in the background. And if you do look at the screen cap, it's hard to argue that an artist either didn't slide that in cheekily or it was planned to do so. It's like kind of like a wink wink, like, oh yeah, all the multiverses are involved here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, once you get into like multiverse kind of theory, and then, you know, being able to travel to different galaxies and stuff like that, you cannot really cross off the opportunity or the possibility of a Marvel Star Wars crossover. It's very possible now that you're getting into all that kind of stuff.
That was Klondike who found that and threw it in the Discord. Which, by the way, if you want to join, use our profile link in Instagram. So yeah, at Manny _ Johnson 69, really digging this feels type of shot. I mean, if Anakin wasn't such a messed up person at this point in his life, I do think he and Ahsoka could have had a moment like this, a redemption moment. And it's also, I know where Nick was going, but it's kind of it's an alternate play on really the Return of the Jedi and Vader's son redeeming him and bringing him back to the light. Here you could argue it would have been Ahsoka that would have got to him first. But it's just something about seeing that evil son of a bitch in that black armor with, you can't see any emotion. These are damn figures, so there's definitely no emotion in the faces, but you can feel something in this shot. You can feel the sadness of Darth Vader and the love that Ahsoka has for him as, you know, her friend, her brother. Yeah. In this shot from at Manny _ Johnson 69.
All right, good stuff. Next up, at 97 Parsecs Photography, he's coming in with a really awesome Maul shot. So for all of you Maul lovers out there, 97 Parsecs Photography is giving you a fantastic rendering up in here. So what we see is a battle happening between Maul, and it looks like essentially what was his like Maul DeLorean troopers. You can see one in the background, at least the full red armor, and you just see them wiping out just legions of stormtroopers. You can see helmets on the ground.
Clones, right? I mean, that's a clone pilot, I think, that's on the ground there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a great action shot. 97 Parsecs Photography. I mean, he's been featured multiple times in top 5. And I'm surprised you didn't grab the Knight Brothers shot or whatever the hell they're called that I think I just featured yesterday. I mean, this one's fantastic too, but as Nick's saying, pretty much anything 97 puts out is, this is an account that I have to govern myself on. All right. Just to kind of peel back that curtain a little bit. I like how he adds in like creatures as well. Like you can see in this one, he's got an act dog in off in the background. And Nick, these are massive. I don't know what they are, but these are the this is 375, and this Maul here and seeing this shot, it's like, dude, just give up on Black Series. I mean, just give up at this point and go back to the little guys, because look how good look how good that Maul looks for a time. I mean, you gotta remember, 3.75 inches. So if you're a man like me, about the size of your weenie, it's not big. It's not big at all. Yeah, but they look great. They're posable now. They're more than just 5 or 7 points of articulation, and you can craft even bigger scenes because they're smaller. I would assume dioramas could be easier to come by and make because they don't have to be as big. But yeah, shots like this and really, Kingdom of Weird's another one. Who's the TX Carlo? I mean, when you see what they do with 375 these days, it's like, why are we fucking off with all these repaints and carbonize this and carbonize that in Black Series when we should probably just kind of take our medicine and revert back to the original line of 375. Yeah. But oh well.
I mean, after seeing shots like this, can't blame you for sure. So at 97 _ Parsecs _ Photography with the awesome 375 Maul shot. And the final member of the top 5 this week goes to Pizza Lover Mac And look, sometimes simple is all you need, and what we have here is a pretty awesome, simple shot. It's our girl. It's the heiress. It's Bo-Katan kneeling down behind some cover, just firing a pistol over into the fray. And I mean, really excellent pose.
That's it right there.
Great use of the diorama. And really, that's all you really need to sell this image here is just fantastic posing. And then just a tiny bit of post-processing to add that little laser effect, and it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, you nailed it. It was the pose that initially drew me to this during my daily feature session. It's just... And I just had a session last night, like myself, trying to set up some toys, working through shit. Some of the toys I'm shooting, I got maybe a year and a half ago. I mean, that's how deep I am in a backlog. But I'm sitting there, and it's like I still struggle with the pose, and a lot of it is I don't want to take the time to get it right. I'll be honest. A lot of it is it's a me problem, and my issues with patience and little intricate things that I got to use my hands on. Remember, I'm the one that spikes $90 figures off of walls when their hands don't go on as fast as my brain thinks they should. But I mean, yesterday I'm like, damn it, man. How do these other people do this so easily? And that's what we're getting from Pizza Lover Mac here. It's a no frills type of shot, but it looks great because of how Bo is posed. It's a very organic looking pose, action oriented pose, and it just works great for the character. So one of these days I'll figure out posing, but I still struggle to even make them look like they're walking or running and not being like a drunk. Like a lot of times you'll know when someone has not posed their action figures correctly when you look at the shot and it looks like most of them are drunk, right? Like kind of leaning forward a little bit or stumbling sideways or leaning back. It's just like after a while, just be like, you know what? Fuck you. You're just going to look like that and I don't care.
That's why you just put like in the background or in like right off to the side in every shot, you just put like a couple of beer cans and you'd be like, he was drunk. You could see he's drinking.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, the photographer's drunk. We know that for sure. I don't know about the little figures. I don't know. It was nice to get out again, but definitely no dynamic poses like we're seeing here from @PizzaLoverMac or really any of the shots we just looked at, and that is A-okay because at least I got outside where I love to shoot and I started clicking that button again.
Just have a little fun with it. There we
Trying,
go.
Nick. Trying.
And that's the end of the top 5. That's the end of the show. Thank you all for tuning in. So Matt, take us home. Take us home with the dance.
All right. I'm dancing over there as long as my computer doesn't blow up. And last week we were getting on Nick for having Windows and not being able to use Skype, and this week you can get on me for having a Mac and really not being able to use anything because I don't know what the hell's going on. I've been trying to look under the hood as the show's been going on. It's not like my memory's pegged or my processor's hitting it. It could be this. We had a Skype issue before we went live. Some updates. I don't know if it's OBS, but either way, we have made it to the end of episode 184. Hopefully, you enjoyed that interview with Neil Ellis. I know I did. It was a fun time, and that hour went really quickly, which means, I think at least, we were having a good conversation. If you missed it, you can always go to StarWarsTime.net on a Wednesday and find the recorded version of the podcast. That's when we release our weekly podcast to all the platforms like iTunes, Google, Stitcher. Hell, isn't Stitcher's a part of Sirius these days? So maybe it's even looped into there. Spotify, we're on there with Rogan. We get paid just as much as he does. We just don't really have as much reach. We don't care. We're still getting those millions. But really, the best place to find our content, the cast, all of the jump-off points to all of the platforms we are a part of is to head over to StarWarsTime.net. Like I said, hit the sub to podcast link. You will find one that works for you. And if it doesn't, send an email to our customer service department. All right. That one goes right to the recycle bin, but we do have one out there just in case you want to reach us. If you like doing the live streams, if you like seeing our faces in black and white or sometimes our guests in color, you can also find our YouTube channel and a sub button right on StarWarsTime.net. So like I said, that is the easiest place to go to get looped into the Star Wars Time Show if you are new to this little party. All right, everyone. Keep it going. Like I said last week, numbers have been going up a little bit, which makes me happy. I don't know if that's new listeners or old listeners coming back and kind of taking a peek like, these guys still smell? Nope. All right. I'll listen again for a few more months. But we appreciate anything. Thanks again for the feedback in the live stream today on the Neil interview. That stuff is always going to go a much longer way for myself, and I believe for Nick too, than monetary gifts or recognition by other Star Wars sites. We do it for you, the fandos. All right? Get some new ones for us. Remind them there's always time for Star Wars Time. And don't forget to also tell them that if they listen to the Star Wars Time Show, which at this point in time is completely covered because I resized my browser. Like, you literally can't even see us anymore. It's just a big fucking browser window on the stream. But anyways, perfect. You know what I'm getting at. If you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you. Always.